Welcome back, everyone, to the NASCC playoffs. Oh my god. Yeah, the entire word just left. The good news is that the teams are still here, and we're still here. It's Gorett's Inbound, and it's going to be very fun, competitive tonight. Again, if you've been watching, at this point, you know that the SOC teams have been eliminated from contention. And I believe tomorrow we'll be eliminating 2 more. But for right now, the big thing is finding out who's going to be the starters in Group C and try to start figuring out what that end group, that end double elim is going to look like for those teams to try and qualify to the World Championship qualifiers, specifically the week just before Worlds in January. So we'll have to see. As you can see, Valkyries and Storm, which is who I believe we are going to be watching in just a moment. The Valkyries, of course, a team full of names you would remember. Storm as well, if you've been watching for a little while, you should probably recognize them as well. And those 2 teams are going to be competing for the first spot in Group C. Both of them coming out with a 2-0 swinging in this group, so you have to imagine feeling pretty solid about their opportunities. But this is one that I'm again, really excited to do, or to watch, because it feels like we have seen some interesting things from these squads. So first off, Xibalba Storm, there's a few players, again, who have been around the SCC for a little while, SOC for a little while, and have made a name for themselves and are recognizable. But the Valkyries, the Valkyries are like a ton of names you should know if you've watched competitive SMITE. Like, just period, you should know these guys. Whether it's from this year or last year or 5 years ago, like for some of them, you should be able to recognize them. Sam for Soccer, a World's MVP player, Crimson, Wowy, Gamma, Aquarius. It's a lot of dudes that have been around. That being said, Inbound, we've seen that sometimes they'll play a little goofy. They'll have a little bit of fun. So today it's the question of what Valkyries are we going to get?
Yeah, and I think when we talk about both of these teams, I always like touching on experience when it comes to SCC, and you've already done it a little bit, but this is a SPL riddled roster, ex-SPL players, versus a mostly SOC roster with maybe a couple SEC. Shippigami's been SEC a little bit. I think GIobe has been also. But this is nearly a David versus Goliath matchup with how much in terms of experience. However, from what we've seen so far, I've been pretty impressed so far with the Storm. I think Ratmilk played phenomenal. I think Shippigami and GIobe have shown that they are very good players. And I think Hapn has filled out the roster very well also. Tegveer's been good in solo. So it's not like this is a true David versus Goliath matchup. I think that is just in terms of experience. But you can't not talk about this Valks team with just how much talent they have. Yes, they do troll sometimes. They do play a little bit more off-meta stuff. They have a little fun. But this is still a fantastic team.
Yeah, and that's the thing that makes this so much more exciting, right? Is you've got the team that has the experience, has done their own thing in the Storm, and then you've got the team that has 4 times the experience, has been on every stage you could think of across the board. And admittedly, if we were doing like a relegations like right now for SPL, who knows, they might even make it in, right? Like, so this is a team I think that you should be keeping your eye on. And like you said, it's not the true David versus Goliath, but it's still like a mini David and I guess maybe a regular David and then a mini Goliath.
Yeah, that works.
They're
for
like
me.
a little closer. Yeah. Or a large David and a regular Goliath.
Yeah, that works for me.
This is a really bad analogy at this point.
I liked it.
Bands, Aphrodite, Kukulkan, Yamoja, the Athena, the Sun Wukong, and the Opwash. Chernobog left open, Chernobog locked in, and we get a Thor for the Storm up front.
Pairing that with the Thoth, a pretty solid mid-jungle combo for the Storm, but when you talk about strong gods in the game, I think Chernobog has to be touched on. Him and Athena, widely considered some of the greatest gods in the game.
I'm going to be real. I forgot Maman, bro.
Set and Maman on top of the bog.
I forgot I got so used to seeing her banned, I forgot that she was here. Did we not see her last set? Did I blank out on she might have been banned. Maybe I'm blanking on some bans, but my brain just
I actually don't know.
I completely glanced. She's real good if you know how to play her.
We saw SPL players play her, and she was running a lot of these games. So, I mean, going over to the Valks, we've seen some flex potential mid-jungle for this Maman, so maybe some potential there. Going to either Sam or ErupTCrimson, but also pairing with the set. I mean, there's a little bit of flex potential. Also, Chernobog can play mid if need be. A lot of flex potential on the side of the Valks and the Storm. They're just picking strong gods in their role. Thor, Thoth, some of the best in their roles. Ganesh, Hachi, another very safe 2v2 in duo lane. And going over to the Valks, the Kukulkan lock-in. We have not seen many warriors at all, let alone warriors not named like Wukong or Rama.
Yeah, and with Wukong banned, Ama's not even on the board. Wasn't even an option in the Valkyries' mind. Kukulkan is one that I've gotten used to, like, immediately, and this is maybe shows what kind of instinct I've been pushed into, which is that I look to the other side to see if there was a King Arthur. But that's the only place my mind can go. And what was interesting is, you know, we've seen it. Maybe it's because the set and the Maman, you're trying to diversify some of the damage, but Poseidon, since he's the last pick, was available for solo lane. So it's not like everything was gone. I think even Morgan Le Fay might have been available left still. So there's a little bit of a choice actually, like, actively made. It's not, oh, well, we'll go with what's left. The Valkyries wanted this Kukulkan. What's he doing?
Well, it brings really good engage, and I think that's a lot of the times just what you need when you have a comp like Set, Maman, and Chernobog. So I like the Kukulkan.
Well, and we'll have to see if you like the Kukulkan, then if the Valks like the Kukulkan, wow, that's hard to do. And how the Storm handle the Kukulkan. To do that, we're going to go down to our casters.
That's right. Thank you very much, going inbound. And Myth, one thing we're seeing from the Valhalla Valkyries, what this comp screams to me is get in your face action. There is like no setup, no CC, no planned engagement. It's all going to be about going all in and seeing who comes out on top.
Yeah, almost like an ego composition, right? The Valhalla Valkyries, clearly a very heavy favorite in this matchup, have drafted something that can get things started very quickly. I imagine they're trying to make a statement here. Look, Xibalba Storm, of course, is an incredibly powerful team. Has had a great run so far this week. But this is going to be their hardest challenge yet, and the Valhalla Valkyries are going to play a completely different pace to what the Storm are used to so far.
This is, of course, our first look at the Valhalla Valkyries, so interesting to see this top seed come in, how well they are performing. One guy I would like to draw some attention to is actually Gamma on this Terra. Now, Gamma played this almost exclusively through the SCC. Terra was coming out pretty much every game, and the play potential of this god in Gamma's hands, absolutely outstanding. And I do just wonder if that will translate well into this composition. You know, it doesn't have a ton of CC, but if Terra connects with all of her CC, that might just be enough.
And it's not even necessarily completely about the CC. We've talked a lot about Terra in the past as one of the best counter-initiation gods in SMITE. Drop Earth and Fury on your backline, all of a sudden it feels like they're unkillable, a burst of healing, a little bit of mitigations. But it also can join up in that dive, and looking at this composition and how much dive the Valkyries have, could just be a 5-dive style of play. Wowy can even jump into the shadows and join the rest of his team. So having that mitigation, healing, and now damage on top of it will make it very easy for Gamma and the boys to just walk down some of the less mobile targets. If they can catch Shippigami with his ultimate down, or Tegveer at literally any point, it'd be very difficult for the Storm to stop that onslaught.
Glad you draw my attention to Tegveer as well on this Poseidon. We actually saw this exact matchup, Tegveer on the Poseidon into a Kukulkan, just yesterday. And it did not go well for the Kukulkan. I believe it was Snaddy on that guard, really struggled to make an impact. What do you think Aquarius is seeing in this pick? It still doesn't have a ton of CC, but does at least have some initiation tools. But does it play well into anything really on the side of the Xibalba Storm?
I mean, your ability to just continually walk forward, especially post-Rage transformation, will be difficult for GIobe to deal with. Having double CC immunity, essentially, in Kukulkan's kit, depending on how well you play again with that Rage transformation, means no one's going to be able to stop you from moving forward. I just see a lot of dive potential. I see a lot of damage output, bully potential in lane. I know we're not exactly in a warrior meta right now. I'm not breaking any new ground saying that. But they still are very capable of putting pressure out.
Oh, good secure there from GIobe onto their own green buff, and will actually pick it up for the extra sustain. But Gamma, absolutely undeterred, makes their way immediately over to this purple buff. However, it's already been secured. I do wonder if they may be bitten off more than they can chew. No! Looks like the dual lane for the Xibalba Storm not interested in getting active early and just looking to farm it up and get through this early stage. Of course, have that Hachiman and the Ganesh combination. Both gods we've seen do very well as we get on into this sort of mid-game stage.
Yeah, it looks to me like the Storm and how their draft is going to play, they do generally want this to go a little bit later into the match so they can play around the standard combos, have Hapn create some space, have GIobe put out that damage from downtown. And if this game does happen to go absolutely late, ultimate there from Shippigami, just looking for a bit of poke as they move towards that neutral camp. if this game does make it to the hyper late game, there can be a struggle for the Valhalla Valkyries working through just the damage output of GIobe in particular. That Thoth just has immense range. It's not exactly matched by anything here from the Valhalla Valkyries. The only way to stop GIobe post 25 minutes is to put them in the dirt. And the draft for the Valkyries is capable of doing that, but they're going to take damage on the way in no matter what.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of sustained damage output from these Thoth pickups. Not surprising to see it come through like, you know, as a top pick. You know, it's been pretty much Kukulkan versus Thoth all mid-game long, or mid-lane long. This time, though, of course, ErupTCrimson going to this set. Now, we've seen plenty of set in the mid lane, and likely because of this Maman Brigitte in the jungle. But do you think it still has an impact, even though the mid lane style of picks has sort of changed in this meta?
I mean, Set's always been a pick that is very capable of getting involved, getting capable of bullying out their opponents, but it's generally a little bit more mid-game slanted, especially with that Transcendence pickup. So I think Set certainly has a home in the meta. Whether or not he's going to be able to leverage that into Thoth in particular, I don't exactly see that. When we used to see Set more frequently, it was against less mobile picks. We'd seen Set as an answer to Ra or Kukulkan or Vulcan or things along those lines. Thoth with evade and punish and his immense range, going to be a little bit more difficult for Crimson to do the Set stuff against him. I'm keeping my eyes more so on those mid-game rotations.
For Stockby here with a sneaky angle, immediately in with the Explosion of Souls, gets the beads out of Ratmilk, who will teleport away. But now the blue buff has spawned. The Xibalba Storm maybe looking to contest it back. Aquarius just going to solo it down. Ratmilk returns to base, so that's the first victory across the map, going the way of the Xibalba Storm. Bit of a scrap over in this dual lane as well. Early Fury comes out, Wowy up to the sky, goes down, forces the dive, kills out a Hapn. Gamma, though, taking too much damage. The amount of damage output from Shipigami with this arty just too much. Gets on the mounted archery, puts more into the back of Wowy, but First Blood goes the way of the Storm.
Yeah, the Valkyries play very aggressive there, especially considering where the minion waves were, the fact that they were already playing at a slight level deficit. Itemization difference means Shinigami's just hitting a little bit harder right now, as elected to go for that Aussie in first slot as opposed to the Devourer's Gauntlets, which are going to take a while to stack up for Wowy. Really surprised to see the Valkyries get that aggressive in the duo lane. That looked to me like they were just trying to throw their weight around. Something Bobby had brought up on the desk was just the veteranship of this team. Maybe they're lacking a bit of respect for their opponents.
Oh, that's a very disrespectful cracking coming out, but Aquarius shows no respect for it and just decides to continue brawling it out. But two solo laners, of course, very used to just scrapping. Sometimes the solo laners just ult each other, and it's something we're used to seeing more so when there are warriors around, but still Poseidon capable of hanging with the boys. Now GIobe takes a little bit of poke, but like you mentioned, has the mobility and the poke to threaten ErupTCrimson. However, here comes SMITE again. There's a big stun with the party trick, and Aquarius takes up that first kill for the Valkyries.
And that's why those soul laners are always trying to box. You got to steal away some of those resources so the ganks can actually hit pay dirt. With no Kraken and no Aegis available, easy for SMITE to make that rotation. Aquarius teams up with them, makes it look simple. Xibalba Storm's soul laner does get the better end of just about every 1-for-1 trade, or 1v1 trade, I should say. Has sustain and itemization, Pythagoras piece, as opposed to Aquarius just going down that defensive tree, meaning that anytime Tegveer takes damage, it won't stick so long as a wave comes his way, and they always do. It's the benefit of being a laner. Anytime Aquarius takes damage, probably just has to go back to base and resustain it. So I think it's pretty clear anytime Aquarius is forcing an engagement like that, that SMITE is vying for a rotation.
Oh wow, just like that, goes back in again, will dash into Tegveer and will take the life of Tegveer. So, farming good on the right-hand side for the Valhalla Valkyries, but now the Storm look to take down this Gold Fury. Gamma is aware of it, does get stunned out. The wall goes down, but the Xibalba Storm shall secure that first objective of the game. Actually looking for a little bit more, getting aggressive are Ratmilk and Shinigami. Will just take that one objective though.
Yeah, that was a really fast response from the Storm, playing well on map, immediately recognized where SMITE is, knowing that their dual lane has advantage, not even concerned with the full HP Gamma or Wowy on the left-hand side, pull the objective and grab it for themselves. And considering they've also got advantage on Secure just by nature of having a Thoth on their side, it's a pretty low-risk play for them, top to bottom, solidifying a pretty significant lead so far as gold is concerned. The Valhalla Valkyries, though, it's a tale of two games. Left side of the map and maybe the center, slightly controlled here by Xibalba Storm, but Now we're starting to look at a pretty significant advantage over to Aquarius over in the Soul lane. With Pyromancer not too far away from spawning, there might be some ripple effects.
Well, there goes the purple buff. The way of the Xibalba Storm, absolutely nothing the Valkyries dual lane can do on this side of the map. But like you said, game of two halves. We have the left-hand side going well for the Storm, right-hand side going well for the Valkyries. So that does make me want to talk about Tegveer on this Poseidon. Now, Poseidon on this current patch, considered by quite many to be just the strongest soul laner in the game, does about everything you want. But we're seeing, a lot of attention from the Valks onto this god. Does Poseidon still do the job that you want from behind if he's really not hitting for the same sort of damage numbers?
Not exactly. I mean, any mage from behind is going to feel significantly worse than something like a warrior from behind. Defensive stats feel pretty decent. You'll still be able to tank up towers as a warrior or a guardian out of the soul lane, but these mages are really relying on the damage output, Pythag's piece, as well as a secondary lifesteal item. The tank stats comes from the damage output because of how lifesteal works, and if you just haven't got enough damage, you're not exactly very tanky, you're not getting the sustain, and it's a really tough situation to find some sort of equilibrium in lane again. That's the weakness of some of these mage solos, especially the less mobile ones, is their inability to make those comebacks once the jungle starts putting presence on that side of the map.
Yeah, and paying off so far for Sanford is that pressure, because has actually managed to sculpt a 2-level lead over Ratmilk. Ratmilk, of course, exerting their pressure onto this dual lane, but it's not really converting itself into much farm. It's one purple buff invade, a few shield camps, which is always nice, but has been triple split, whereas Sanford seem to have the advantage of this mid and right side. Maybe netting themselves some mid camps, goes on to Globe again, still tries the Sanford latest party trick, and that's attempting to get a party trick onto Globe's evade and punish. It's not quite working out just yet, but if that connects just once, that might be the end of Globe.
Yeah, or at least some of his relics, so I like the idea from Sam. Just heat check, make sure those reactions are on time. Crimson in some trouble, needs to get over that wall, and does. Dharmic Pillar over the wall. Hopeful thinking. I mean, even if it connects perfectly, it's just not going to kill Crimson there. Perhaps just setting up, if the slow connects, Globe can perhaps get a little bit closer, but an overcommitment, I think. And Hapn without his ultimate, not exactly the biggest impact player on map now. Ganesh so reliant on those Dharmic Pillars, but still willing to go for this purple buff invade. Now it's up to the Valhalla Valkyries to figure out a response.
On it again to the Xibalba Storm. Actually, notable, Ratmilk still, I'm not sure, has actually used an Anvil of Dawn just yet. So the Thor maybe a little bit shy on the trigger, not quite willing to go for anything too crazy just yet. That may be what the consideration was from Hapn. They're going for that Dharmic Pillars on ErupTCrimson. But think better of it to the Storm. They back away from this purple buff. Of course, not fully equipped with all of their resources. And the game has been at a much slower pace than what we've seen out of some of the other NASCC teams so far. However, it's been well played. We've seen a lot of good farming, some good invasion contested. Is this what you would have expected to see when we were playing against the Valhalla Valkyries with the Xibalba Storm? Maybe need to tidy things up and keep things at this sort of level.
The Storm's pace so far is not poor. I think just maintaining a state of parity is beneficial to Xibalba Storm, considering how their game plan works post 25 some odd minutes. It's the Valhalla Valkyries, I think, that are going to start feeling some pressure soon to get things rolling.
Great wall on to Happen. Ratmilk goes up into the sky. Globe in some trouble. Sanford does have enough damage and will take them down. However, the solo laners show up, but Aquarius shall fall. Tegveer dealing a lot of damage, and Shippigami picking up the kill. It's a full 5-on-5 for this first Beacon. Beacon currently in the advantage of the Valhalla Valkyries. Tegveer showing up, going to clear the dance floor with that whirlpool. Now all of a sudden, though, just means there's enough space for the Valhalla Valkyries to take our first contested objective. Very back and forth there.
Yeah, I was really surprised that the Storm showed so much respect, too. They eliminate the majority of the lead that the Valhalla Valkyries have in Aquarius. The majority of experience and gold lead probably coming from him. And then you realize, okay, well, Hapn and Shippigami are both around 2 levels up. Or not anymore, as Wowy and Gamma have crest that level mark, but it was 9 and 11. For Gamma and Wowy to the 11 and 13 of Shippigami. So I'd figured in the 4v4, with Xibalba Storm having so much advantage in that dual lane, we'd see a little bit more of a commitment around the Beacon. Instead, it's a reset to neutral. Sanford was still pretty healthy, so the Storm perhaps concerned with how much damage he's going to have. Crimson was in a decent spot as well, so it will be just a fizzle out on that left-hand side with a 1-for-1 trade. Tipped in favor of the Valhalla Valkyries as they are able to grab that beacon for themselves. Pyromancer spawning up real soon. I wonder if the Storm can just try and sneak that one away. Having Tegveer and all the damage output that Poseidon has on objectives might be one way in for him.
Well, there goes the Kraken, but there's the explosion of souls. Nice bees, nice ages, but it's still not enough. Sanfasok going to take another hefty shot, and Ratmilk shall wall them off, and there goes the Maman. Brigitte did not take over to the killing spree, so it's not a full shutdown for Ratmilk, but still a handy amount of gold to put in the pocket of this Thor.
Excuse me for saying that Xibalba Storm would have Tegveer. That's on me. 3 times now he's been caught out in that soul lane. Sanfasok has made his home on the right-hand side, and looking at wards on map, seems to me Storm not overly concerned with keeping Tegveer safe. It's more so wards to keep GIobe safe there. So Sanfasok, if he so chooses, could just rotate through once more. Try and put some more pressure onto Tegveer, who had lost his Aegis. That said, with Gold Fury back up, we could be looking at a repeat of last time.
Oh, going in there is Wowy with that Living Nightmare, but not a whole lot on. I suppose there's not much use of that ultimate other than getting back to lane quickly. So shield buff goes the way of Xibalba Storm. Again, some contested farm on this dual lane has actually led to still this 2-level lead for Shippigami at the moment. And Hachiman and Chernobog not going to be the most action-packed lane, but when it comes to rotating together, you certainly would want to be the one ahead. Now, slight variations in the builds from the two ADCs. Now, do you see this as a stylistic choice already? The kin size picked up by Shippigami, and has actually gone for a little bit of crit too.
Yeah, Shippigami, I mean, normally you don't get to see the kin size crit split, but could be that he's concerned with that frontline presence from the Valhalla Valkyries. Gamma and Aquarius both going to be gunning down Shippigami in the back once the team fight starts up, so picking up that kin size is going to help him out significantly. Whereas on the other hand, Wowie's just going for what I consider to be a largely standard build here for Chernobog. That's nothing different from the standard. Any Chernobog you see is going to be going for something like this or some variation of it.
We do see this Pyromancer picked up by the Storm, but dropped just as quickly. Sanfasok lurking around. Level 16 Maman Brigitte, only matched up on the other side by GIobe on this Thoth. Actually, I do have Shippigami taking over there too. The beacon is on the way in, so that looks like that will be the next point of contention. Gold Fury up, Pyromancer up as well. This game is finally poised at the moment, but could explode to life if one team gets a significant fight advantage.
Could be. Gonna be hard to find a place to start those fights, though. The Valhalla Valkyries don't really seem like they're willing to just go ahead and pull an objective. It does seem like they are very interested in taking some PvP. Have looked for fights just about everywhere on map, center and right-hand side, and largely avoiding the duo lane, as Wowy is suffering in that 1v1 matchup. But if the Valkyries want an engagement, they could do what Xibalba Storm are doing, which is just go ahead, jump on a POI, and check responses. Pyromancer, burning fast.
There come the explosion of souls, gets the knockup. Pyromancer dropped. Hapn, though, in some trouble. Sanfasok misses the dash. ErupTCrimson goes to put the damage onto this Ganesha, but not quite enough. Here comes the entirety of the Valhalla Valkyries, still looking for that PvP. Not going to be able to get it, but Xibalba Storm frightened away from this Pyromancer. That'll be a first objective now for the Valhalla Valkyries to take off the map, and a bit of space created, but no one falling down.
Yeah, the Storm thought for a moment they got a free Pyromancers when we see that frenzy get popped. Happen, making the decision that they could just go ahead and run it down. Tier 1 tower knocked down by the Valhalla Valkyries. Xibalba Storm not able to get there in time to prevent that runic bomb from absolutely shredding through their structure. This could be the next POI as the beacon's starting to spawn up. That was the last time we saw a true 5-on-5 engagement. Instead, though, the Storm, they're getting a little fancy.
That's fancy or crazy? Well, let's see how it turns out before I give you the answer to that question. Now, Aquarius and Gamma both spot this out. Wowy, not even committing to making the rotation over, doesn't have the Living Nightmare. And yeah, just the frontline presence of the Valhalla Valkyries has again frightened away the Xibalba Storm. Now, engagement over at this beacon. GIobe, of course, will to churn out the damage to it. ErupTCrimson goes in on Shippigami, sends him packing. Gamma as well forces GIobe under what was the tier 2 tower. Oh, it's tier 1 tower, sorry, but that one's already fallen down. GIobe charging the ultimate, decides to just fire it, connects with no one, as we've seen many times so far this tournament. And then again, the Valhalla Valkyries take a relatively easy beacon.
can they get anything more on map? Maybe even could start to look towards this Primal Fury. Wow, he does have ultimate available, so if a fight does break out, that ADC will get there pretty quickly. Does go up to the air.
No.
Shippigami on the horse. Ratmilk similarly leapt to the air, but I don't see any opportunity for a fight here.
Yeah, not really. Aquarius has also made the rotation in. Ratmilk realizes who he's dunked on and realizes he's going to get on out of there immediately. But this has now created the space for this Gold Fury. The Valhalla Valkyries not really having that objective style comp as we mentioned earlier, but with just such a threat of PvP action all the time, it's really frightening away. The Xibalba Storm creating space again. The Storm want to pull this Fire Giant. Now, the Shred is pretty good. Tegveer, of course, in the Poseidon. I'm not sure if the Valhalla Valkyries are fully aware. Now they will be. Aquarius goes in, goes for the knockup, does get silenced out. Now looks to target out GIobe, who is the one with the secure. Fire Giant's very low, and the Xibalba Storm do take this objective pre-20 minutes. Can they get out, though, with anything worthwhile? Now, Tegveer in some trouble. Not too much trouble, though. Big double root comes out from Aquarius. There's Gamma locked off by the wall, though. And that will be enough to stem the chase. Can't lockdown happen. Xibalba Storm sneak one away.
Yeah, Storm's smart for that pull. Wowy, no ultimate means that he can't help out with Aquarius defending on the right-hand side. Confirmation always going to go the way of the Storm so long as SMITE isn't there. He's really the only one on Valhalla Valkyries can threaten a steal away from something like GIobe's ultimate or Tegveer's. And so the Storm pull it. And even with Aquarius doing his best to get involved early. I like the call from Kukulkan. I don't have steal potential, but I can certainly disrupt some of that damage, slow them down, maybe buy some time for my team to rotate in. Storm just ignore him. Say, okay, do your worst. You're essentially just a full tank right now. Do the Fire Giant in his face, and then immediate disengage. Nearly does cost Tegveer his life. Had Gamma been able to trigger the root. Instead, it's Earthen Fury, but nothing to channel the damage burst on the tail end. Means Tegveer just walks himself out of there, and it's Xibalba Storm now, Fire Giant on all 5. But the issue the Storm have run into is their inability to win out cleanly on a 5v5, and you kind of have to.
Oh, they look for it now. Oh, fantastic Aegis. GIobe does connect with that ult, but does get blocked out. Now, SMITE taking the fight to Tegveer. Ratmilk joins them, and Tegveer shall take down this man Brigitte. Now, all in the way, meanwhile, Wowy pushing on left, but Aquarius with a triple knockup, however, may pay for it with a life. Great silence from Hapn, and that is enough damage. They don't need to win a 5-on-5. If the Xibalba Storm can take a fight, that's 3v5.
And the Storm just playing much more grouped up there, generating threat on map and knocking down now the tier 2 tower on right. And with 2 dead for 20 seconds, threat on Phoenix is significant. No standard mage for the Valhalla Valkyries, so base defense real weak.
Yeah, already stepping in is Tegveer and Shippigami to put this damage out. There are 3 members defending for the Valhalla Valkyries, and it looks like that is going to be enough again. Storm very shy of taking anything close to an even fight. Look for an opportunity on the Phoenix, but do not get it. Had sent Ratmilk back to defend the potential split push coming out from Wowy. But a very strange game so far, Mifflin, this feels like. I'm not quite sure who would be the happier. The Valhalla Valkyries, of course, winning out across the map mostly, but you know they've all of a sudden given the window back in for the Xibalba Storm, who pull us back to parity.
Yeah, and as the game goes on, the Storm's composition only gets better and better. I really do like how it plays into what the Valhalla Valkyries have got in the late game. I thought we'd see a lot more emphasis on objectives from the Valkyries, a lot more pressure. SMITE putting a lot of that throughout the early game onto Tegveer, but all the good it's done him. Tegveer is nearly full build regardless and has ticked over to level 20, likely upgrading that starter to the Blood-Soaked Shroud pickup. So Poseidon damage output right up there with the top of them, and Valhalla Valkyries gonna have to find an answer once more now in the late game. There are opportunities should the Valhalla Valkyries start to group up a little bit more significantly. I want to see them play as a 4-man unit and have Wowy split the map, maybe even around that right-hand side, knowing the Storm likely will be playing on left for that Gold Fury and the only remaining structures. Send your 4-man core of the Valkyries to left to slow down the siege. Send Wowy over to right. He can match some of those tower pressure moments. Potentially swing this team fight around in their favor. Gamma just in no man's land.
Oh, caught in big trouble and gets gobbled up by a Kraken. Aquarius goes in with a big knock-up. Ratmilk in the sky. Taking to the sky also is Wowy. Now, SMITE has a huge flank, but it's just being bypassed. The rest of the Xibalba Storm now running down this mid lane. Tier 2 tower there. Fire Giant for a few more seconds. Valhalla Valkyries are in some trouble as ErupTCrimson gets stunned, gets rooted, gets killed off. Another big kill for the Storm.
The Valkyries just playing so isolated in the map, get picked out one by one, and the Storm starting to tear through some of these structures, and it looks like they want more.
They're going in for it. Wowy is here to defend. No Kraken available. Sanfasaka goes in to use their damage. There is the Explosion of Souls. Gets the party trick out, but Shippigami just battles back. Tegveer has to use the Aegis. The Titan going very, very low. Glow putting out whatever damage they got. Sanfasaka puts the damage back. The Titan very low. They try to hold, but the Valhalla Valkyries fall down to the Xibalba Storm.
Xibalba Storm, they bide their time throughout the early game until eventually their composition comes to fruition, and they win out cleanly through picks. I mean, the Valhalla Valkyries, we only saw, what, one true 5-on-5 engagement throughout that entire game, and it was on the beacon, the first beacon spawn. Since then, it was piecemeal, either Gamma getting caught out, we saw Aquarius get caught out a few times, Wowy's trying his best to split push, but wasn't involved in the team fight just about ever. I believe about 5,000 damage from that Chernobog. You got to win out on the 5v5. I thought that was going to be the issue that we saw the Storm run into, but clearly not. The 5v5 never came back to bite them. They never got another one. They were always finding 5v1s.
I'm really surprised with how that game went. It was, like I mentioned earlier, very finely poised for a moment. Then just the Valhalla Valkyries don't show up to one fight. Then they let another fight go away. And I don't know. They've really got to tidy it up for game number 2. So we'll see how we do that after we come back from this break.
ISO to the ND, Jeray, and we cruising through. In that 97 Cutlass, strolling through the air. Bass booming, it's a party inside the slab. It's whatever, baby, you could put it on the tab. Blessings in the wind, shall I see it, then I grab, ayy. Probably with the set, making bangers. Spare time, we be ride swingers. Pushing on them gears, pushing on them gears. Out here, and we swinging. Watch for the scanners, watch for the scammers. We be setting standards, we be setting standards. Only going forward, ain't no going backwards. Anytime we in the booth, it's a fire hazard. Put some Dayton's on it, now they hating on it. Supreme clientele, they was waiting on it. Pontiac, Firebird flying on them. I got a need for speed, I'm a Florida on them. Gran Turismo, running game on them. This is custom kitted, whip the paint on them. Forza Motorsport, change lanes on them. Twist the metal gang, throw the flame on them. Hey, probably with the set, making bangers. Spare time, we be ride swingers. Pushing on them gears, pushing on them gears. Out here, and we swinging. Watch for the scanners, watch for the scammers. We be setting standards, we be setting standards. Only going forward, ain't no going backwards. Anytime we in the booth, it's a fire hazard. Woke up feeling blessed, I ain't dealing with no stress today. Staying to myself, cause I won't let them get the best of me. We been pushing forward, we ain't focused on what's yesterday. They wanna know the formula, can let them know the recipe. Whoa. Metal to the floor, hear the engine roar. Pull the top down on the 2 doors. You can't push no buttons in this new car. Can't let them push our buttons, we came too far. Sometimes you gotta remind them what you do it for. We done came up, we was too poor. Got the butters on the feet, we from New York. They could feel it in our body, know we too pure. We was too mature, way before 24. I got kicks up in my closet that I never wore. We was down bad, now check the new score. They know it's ISO to the indie, we the new norm.
97 Cutlass, strolling through the air. Bass booming, it's a party inside the slab. It's whatever, baby, you could put it on the tab. Blessings in the wind, shall I see it, then I grab, ayy. Blessings in the wind, shall I see it, then I grab, ayy. Blessings in the wind, shall I see it, then I grab.
Ay, probably with the set, making bangers. Spare time, we be ride swingers. Pushing on them gears, pushing on them gears. Out here, and we swinging. Watch for the scanners, watch for the scammers. We be setting standards, we be setting standards. Only going forward, ain't no going backwards. Anytime we in the booth, it's a fire hazard.
It is the light at the end of the tunnel and less than a month away, which is only low-key, almost high-key freaking me out a little bit because that's real close for Worlds. Of course, it's what these teams are playing for right now. They want to qualify to the qualifiers on the 4th and the Worlds the 12th through the 14th. And if you're going to be there, or if you're going to be at home, you can pretend to be there by picking up some of the SWC merch that is available with our partners. And being able to go to shop.hi-rezstudios.com/SWC. Skulls makes fantastic shirts. You can get a World's jersey, bag, hat. There's, I believe, a sweatshirt. There's joggers. There's T-shirts for every single team and then some. And you want to make sure that you can pick yours up as of now. You want to do it sooner rather than later, right? Less than a month. You don't know how long it's going to take to ship. Get in there while you can. Of course, that is shop.hi-rezstudios.com/SWC to get that merch, which is only going to be available for a limited time. And I can say with certainty that you should, because as of right now, I'm literally wearing one of my Skulls t-shirts under this sweater, and it is incredibly comfy. It is one of my favorite shirts to wear, so you should pick that up when you have the opportunity. So thanks to Skulls, and of course, thanks for all of you who were hanging out and watching all the way to SWC. And Inbound, that's what these teams are fighting for, and after all the talking up we did, it was actually the Storm, even though we gave them a lot of credit. I guess it's the David who overcomes the Goliath, at least in game 1.
Well, a big David overcame the Goliath.
Over a regular or mini Goliath, potentially.
So, I mean, still, Storm played great. Like, what a fantastic... I mean, I guess the early game didn't go too well, but when you look at the comp that the Storm drafted compared to what the Valks drafted, the Valks did really want to play these 2v2, 3v3 scuffle-style fights a lot more than the Storm wanted to. And then when it came late, when you expect to see a 5v5, we don't see a single 5v5 all game. I don't think, unless I forgot of one at like 15 minutes, but once Fire Giant is done, it is a snowball by the Storm. They start pushing down towers, they're getting picks, and then one fight at about 23 minutes, and that's all she wrote. They go for the end, and that is what I love to see from the Storm. They had a 5v2 for 5 seconds with Terra spawning, and instead of, like, you know, backing, resetting, getting ready for the next thing, they go for the end, and it is close, but they get it.
Yeah, having it's the courage, right, to make that in call in that moment and then make it work, right? They just play really well, and like you said, it's a bunch of really solid picks that open up the door for them. But that Fire Giant, the plays, Storm just handled this game well. And I'm wondering how the Valkyries, because it's one of those games where it's not even, okay, well, yeah, the Valkyries made an oopsie-daisy and fell apart. It's like, no, you were controlling some of that game. Yep. Storm able to hold on, just make some really good shot calls, and that is where it gets very interesting. It becomes a bit more of a chess match between these two teams. And so adjustments, I mean, you know, we got to see Maman for the first time in what feels like forever. Doesn't really do nothing, doesn't really do everything, is just kind of there. And I think that's just the result of, like, the Storm doing well. But do you think, like, is there anything draft-wise you think that needs to change, or do you think it's just play on field?
The worst thing when it comes to a loss like this isn't like it was a comp thing or something that you did specifically wrong. The Storm just had a very good Fire Giant burn comp with the secure from Thoth, and they go for that one Fire Giant, and that is the only thing they needed to actually push themselves over the edge. So it's not even a, yo, Valks, you did this wrong, draft here differently, play here differently, whatever it was. It was the Storm making a really good play, and they're actually, like, playing and looking at the map correctly, which is something that a lot of times you don't see in the lower-end SEC teams. But, I mean, the Storm did it.
And not so much that the Valks lost, but the Storm won that game. And so we'll see if they can do it again here. So we jump into picks and bans for game 2. Again, winner of this one gets to go to Group C. Loser's not eliminated, so it's not necessarily the end of the world, especially if you're the Valkyries here. Depending on how things go, you have another opportunity. But you're going to be feeling the heat a little bit now, right?
Yep.
Now you need to turn some things around. And like you said, a lot of it's on field, and some of it's not even, like, the first few minutes, the first 10 minutes even. it's waiting until some of that late game. So we'll see how things change. Wukong, Thoth, and the Emoja banned out by the Storm. On the other side, the Athena, the Afro, and the Opwash. So much easier when they're all just the letter A. And blows me away, Thor up at the very, very top over Chernobog, over everything.
And Ratmilk found a couple picks in that game, and they go back to this Thoth, Thor, sorry. So they like it, and I think it allows for you to play around picks with just the wall, or play around picks with the actual Thor ult. And honestly, Thor in general, I think that was one of the better games we've seen in a long time. It wasn't like a pop-off game, but they found the picks they needed to get with this Thor, so I like that they go back to it. And then on the opposite side, Valks get this Ganesh Cuckoo, which is it's a fine pick, but you look at this top 3 that the Storm have, Thor, Anhur, Poseidon, and then you compare it to what the Valks have got, Ishtar, Cuckoo, Ganesh. There is so much more playmaking potential on the side of the Storm. They have pretty easy winning lanes. The Poseidon, even though he fell behind, Poseidon doesn't play to win lane. Poseidon goes to those objectives, and he wants to destroy those.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see, because last time they had like 2 secure mages, right? The Thoth and the Poseidon. Now you just have the Poseidon. I'm still happy to see him that far up. Bans come through, Baba Yaga, Ares, alongside the Naja and the Hunbats from the Storm. So the Valkyries then go to a Nike. And inbound, if I'm looking at it carefully, depending on this next pick, it could be jungle, it could be solo, and both of those terrify me.
Yeah,
not for the great reason, though.
I mean, I guess if you're looking for a victory, who else would you want to take than the Goddess of Victory? Maybe that's what they're going for. They couldn't win the game without her. Look for her this time, but we have not seen Nike in a long time. It is not Nike jungle.
I was
don't know
real
if that
worried. I
saves
was
you a
just like,
little
all
bit.
right, so this game's just over.
They get the Nike. They put it in solo. We have the Mercury to pair with it. And why Nike? I think that's what we're probably all thinking. Why are we going for this Nike? And quite frankly, it's something where Nike is a solid laner. She doesn't really lose lanes. She can play for that middle game. And then late game, she's just another engage character, kind of like that Kukulkan. But the engage isn't CC engage. It's just, I'm going to get in there, slow everyone, try to do a little bit of damage, and then allow Mercury to clean up the fight. It's kind of what Kukulkan does, but maybe the passive for Nike, so just a bunch of stats for the allies is something that they'd prefer over Kukulkan, who's a little bit more of a selfish warrior. But there's no reason that sticks out to me for why Nike over a different warrior.
Well, I guess the only way to figure it out is to find out how. I'm also excited there's a Raw lock-in that I want to see, and so without further ado, we'll jump down to game number 2 and go over to our casters.
Thank you, Go, and thank you, Inbound. Well, we mentioned in game number 1, Mifflin, Valhalla Valkyries go for somewhat of an ego comp. Let's say this one maybe looking more like a humbled comp, much more standard, much more in line with what everyone else has been playing, but still committing to this warrior in the solo lane.
Yeah, maybe Aqua just a big warrior fan, I suppose. The Nike, I mean, Bobby said it, doesn't necessarily lose lane, and if this were a warrior meta, I'd be all with him on that call, but up against a Poseidon who's just going to have sustain advantage and should also have boxing potential as well, feels like there is some concerns for Aqua and his ability to hold his own. Might be that we see Sanford Soccer put a similar level of emphasis on the soul lane as we had seen on the previous match. But top to bottom, I think the Valhalla Valkyries, for the most part, have just got a much better composition. Crimson playing a standard Kukulkan, Gamma taking away the Ganesh, Wowy playing a god that can box a little bit more consistently. Sanford Soccer should be able to run the game. I've seen plenty of Sanford Soccer Legacy Mercury games. I've been around for a while. I've had the pleasure to watch him play it. And in a meta where it feels like you can just go Rage Deathbringer immediately, it seems to me Sanford Soccer can just expedite the build and get things involved a little bit faster.
Oh, well, that's not how you want to start this fast game. Takes a big chunk of damage as Ratmilk and Globe up to contest this left side mid cap. Not something we see too often, actually, where these first spawns are actually fought over by anyone. But you know, both sides trading blows, and Ratmilk wants to commit to that left-hand side. But as you're saying about this Mercury, it's a strong position for them, can go straight into that rage. We've seen plenty of players do it. Those players not specifically named Sam for soccer on Mercury, so if it works for them, why can't it work for Sam?
I think it just will. Seems to be the standard build. Only thing I could see being an issue is if this Charon decides to pick up a Spectral Armor really early on. Charon, of course, now with Spectral Armor having that aura, and Charon, one of the more aggressive Guardians, could just stand in that front line, be right next to Sam for soccer at all times, and mitigate some of the efficacy of that crit. So we'll have to see how itemization starts to round out. I imagine, though, playing around that duo lane, the Xibalba Storm might be looking to play a similar pace as we had seen previously. Wowy struggling in that 1v1 up against Shinigami. And now Shinigami on and on her, I'm thinking has similar potential to just dominate that lane.
Yeah, a complete change up from the first game. We actually expect to see Ishtar and Anhur just want to brawl it out, with a slight edge maybe going the way of Anhur. It depends sort of on who gets the better start in those sorts of engagements. But one god I wanted to touch on, Mifflin, is this Ra in the mid lane for GIobe. Now, we've seen tons of Thoth, tons of Kukulkan, and a little bit of Vulcan as well. And the whole point is they have that big, secure ultimate. It can contest objectives. It can start them. Hold on.
Yikes.
Aquarius now in a little bit of danger. This Nike maybe trying to pay off for a moment. Ratmilk just charges at them. GIobe has made the quick rotation over. Tegveer in trouble. Tegveer goes down for first blood.
Ooh.
Aquarius not quite hit by that searing pain. Also, off the mark is GIobe with the rest of Ra's abilities. Maybe just answering the question I was alluding to there. Still yet to connect with an ability is GIobe. And that means that Aquarius relatively safe now. Sanfasaka able to go onto this Ra. And yeah, gets the beads and gets away with it.
Yeah, GIobe was unwilling to wait for the CC from Ratmilk, instead free hands his abilities, and unfortunately comes up empty over the wall. So Aquarius able to walk himself out of there after getting the assist experience to tick over to level 5, getting access to that Sentinel of Zeus. Good stuff. Great target selection from Sanfasaka in particular, realizing that Tegveer had overextended, trying to finish off that kill. Picks up the throw, gets through the beads, and takes his life. Tegveer is struggling to dodge out that first ability from Mercury. And now it's the Valhalla Valkyries, off to a pretty fast start, and putting the kill on maybe their most valuable player. I think having that Mercury grab first blood for himself is just so significant.
Yeah, it was somewhat a bit tentative sometimes from the Valkyries. Of course, did have success in that solo lane, as they have done again here. But as we got into those later stages, you know, it felt like Sam not able to really engage with that Maman Brigitte, not willing to commit. And yeah, sometimes just got a little bit outpaced by the Xibalba Storm, particularly after that Fire Giant buff did go the way. So this time looking to get active, already picked up the first blood, haven't even considered this dual lane so far, has Sanfasaka fully committing to the side of the map they want to play on. And Ratmilk tries to defend it and doesn't come up too successfully this time. So right now, 5 minutes in, only one kill for the Valkyries and maybe feeling in a much better position. But the Storm here still have a similar composition to what they had before. So do you expect them to, yet again, try to maybe sneak away one of these objectives, like probably an upcoming Gold Fury or even the Fire Giant again?
Yeah, the first objective we had seen in Game 1, hold on, Sanfasaka involved in mid, finds the ultimate, tosses GIobe over, and the Crimson lines it up. See if Ratmilk can at least return the kill, and does exactly that. Crimson should be fine from here. The way we had seen the Storm take out the first neutral objective in Game 1 was that they waited out a gank on Soul Lane and utilized their high objective burn composition and just slammed the Gold Fury immediately. They haven't exactly got the same potential to do that with this draft. I mean, GIobe, he'll keep you sustained up, and he's got great secure on Gold Fury, but hasn't got the same level of burn as we had seen previously. Shinigami, not exactly the same level of burn either. Helps out with that secure, thanks to Desert Fury, but doesn't exactly have a Heavenly Banner or something along those lines to boost the attacks of his allies, or even lacking the Ganesha. I mean, it'd be a real struggle.
Oh, Shinigami in some trouble. Does have to burn the beads to get out. There's the Blades of Retribution, first use from Wowy, paying off there effectively. And that's sort of how this dual lane's going to go. It's very close for both of these Hunter players. But depending on who has the advantage, who has the proper backup from their support, that will really decide who gets the edge in these early stages. Slight level lead for the dual lane of the Valhalla Valkyries, but again, seeing some impact from Sanfasaka in that mid lane. GIobe punished for the lack of beads, and it feels like we haven't seen as consistent setup for Kukulkans as that. It was as simple as grab the Ra, throw them into the dragon. It should be that easy all along, but it's been anything but so far.
I mean, there are answers, right? If beads are up, all of a sudden Sanfasaka's in a little bit more trouble. If GIobe's fast enough on the Searing Pain, can avoid the Sonic Boom, be a little bit more difficult for Sanfasaka to line up his own dash as well. So, answers in kit for Xibalba Storm. Got to burn through those relics, and it seems to me that GIobe didn't have access previously. Now we'll have beads, so next rotation towards mid probably won't be as successful. Rotation after that, likely where you start to see some of that pay dirt hit. So we'll see if Sanfasaka decides to put some of that attention there, or if instead wants a more guaranteed kill early on. Looks like he's aiming for Tegveer right now, lining up that ultimate over the wall. Aqua playing on that tower line. Tegveer, no beads, but has ultimate.
Yeah, the inherent Sanford Soccer nerf in year 10 as the lanes are now bending. Therefore, these Mercury ults can't quite hit at the same sort of angle they have previously. Tegveer absolutely knows about this. Not sure exactly how. Maybe it's just that sixth sense. You realize you're playing against Sam on his favored Mercury. Sam's made a career of just standing in lanes and waiting for the squishy target to expose themselves, but not right now. And, well, again, we'll just have to keep an eye on where Sam decides to use that ultimate. But Ratmilk on this Thor hasn't been getting active again yet. Do you think that's a choice from Ratmilk? I know it's sort of played out this way in both games, but do you think they're waiting for a specific power spike before they really want to get involved in the game?
It's hard to say, right? The 2-item power spike for Thor is really strong, getting access to Hydras, a little bit more CDR, some penetration, your auto cancels get a little more powerful. I mean, I would understand the trepidation to get active that early on, but Jotun's is also a very good power spike for Thor, and you'd like to see him get active before Sanford Soccer begins to outscale, just by nature of going down that crit tree. Is Rage, by the way, in flirt slot for Sam. I'd like to see Ratmilk get a little bit more done, and it is worth noting in Game 1, Ratmilk was closer to the bottom of the damage chart than he was the top of it, I believe ending at around 8,000 or 9,000 damage, so a less aggressive Thor playstyle, more so centered around the counter gank and farming up the map. He's done a good job farming on map, keeping parity with Sanford Soccer, but Sam's also been a bit more involved in the fights, I would say. He's gone for a few attempted ganks. He's burnt through some of those relics. He's rotating through. His ultimate's been on cooldown pretty consistently. Haven't seen that same level from Ratmilk. So if Ratmilk is going to spend so much time in the jungle farming up or leeching lanes and not exactly looking for fights or opportunities, I'd like to see him farm a little bit faster. Control those camps, stay on top of the timers, be ready for the neutrals. It's a narrow balance, right? It's this balancing act of how involved do I need to be on map and how much can I spend just grabbing all that farm. And he hasn't quite hit it for me just yet.
Well, we've had a few moments now of a relative stalemate as far as the combat is concerned, and this is where you tend to see the trends, right? Like who is farming a little bit more efficiently, who is getting on top of these neutral camps. And right now, it seems to be the Valhalla Valkyries. They have a significant gold lead, considering the relative lack of kills, and you can't really allow this to happen if you're the Xibalba Storm. Like you'd mentioned, Ratmilk just inherently going to be outscaled by Sanford Soccer on this Mercury, so not a ticking clock per se, you know, if it's not one of those crazy hyper carries like a Kronos or maybe a Freya, but, you know, Mercury is capable of just blowing up targets if you give them this sort of space. It's not quite the hyper late game for Mercury, but when they have that crit online, the penetration online, that's maybe when I expect to see Sanford Soccer get really active. And that might be a bit too late for Ratmilk, but Tegveer drops the Kraken, manages to survive one of these Sanford Soccer ganks, and again, we return to the stalemate.
But it's a play we've seen before. This time, though, Gamma, the Ganesh, should be able to slow this down. Gold Fury burning quick.
Crimson here comes the Spirit of the Nine Winds right in time.
Yikes.
And that will be a steal and a kill for the Kukulkan, who just then slithers on back to lane. Now Shippigami in a little bit of danger as well. It's a great silence, forces the beads out, and actually a rotation from Aquarius for that objective. It's already gone the way of the Valks, but they extend this gold lead.
Great placement of ultimate there from Crimson. I mean, that was just perfect. You're a bit reliant on the Storm to make a mistake themselves. I believe Globe does use Searing Pain, but a little bit too early there, and the Valhalla Valkyries able to steal that one away, as well as finding a multi-man ultimate from Crimson, knocking him into the walls of Gamma, just doing so much damage there. And the Valhalla Valkyries, who are already benefiting from a lead, continue to do so now. And it's just valuable to take that objective off the map. If we're going to see Sanford Soccer spend so much time on the right-hand side, still there, by the way, that really does open up an opportunity for the Storm to continually look for those Gold Furies. So Valhalla Valkyries grabbing that one just to remove it as a potential for the Xibalba Storm means that Sanford Soccer can be content hanging out on the right-hand side, keeping his pressure up. Tegveer does lose his beads on the previous rotation, so now has to show a lot of respect on this right. Seems to me the Valkyries happy to throw their weight around.
Yeah, Valks, for sure. I'm happy with these two teams with how this game has gone. No, won't be happy at all, though, about being a game down. You'd feel like coming in as the top seed, there would have been a lot of confidence, but we really didn't see it in that first game. But this beacon now spawning up. Ratmilk not giving it to Crimson for free. Whoa! Searing Pain almost connecting with ErupTCrimson, but not quite. Gamma here to make sure this beacon is contested, but gives up the chase in the 3v2, not willing to contend it. And this time the Xibalba Storm take the first beacon down. What do you think it is, Mifflin, about this beacon? That sometimes teams will fight tooth and nail, and other times they just kind of let it go and don't really seem to care. We'll have to hold that as Aquarius comes onto Globe. Time for Soccer all the way around the backside as well. Globe knocked into danger. The wave comes through, almost takes down Aquarius. Ratmilk goes for San Soccer, the bigger target, but doesn't manage to stop the blink. Aquarius in some trouble. Can they get the leap over the wall? Yes, they can, and Ratmilk silenced by Gamma. Gamma saving the life of the solo laner there. Somehow the Valkyries get all the way in and get all the way back out.
I mean, the micro plays on display there from the Valhalla Valkyries. Aquarius tanking up the tier 2 tower until the very last second, then utilizing Sentinel Zeus not only to CC immune a few abilities, but also just to tank up that last tower shot. Walks himself through there. San Soccer's positioning, takes no damage from Ratmilk, gets the blink over wall. Immediately afterward, we see just S-tier peel from Gamma. The Valhalla Valkyries have clearly woken up here in Game 2 as they secure the Pyromancer for themselves as well. So, Tier 1 Tower, Gold Fury, Pyromancer all go their way in the span of about 3 minutes. The Xibalba Storm are quickly losing their threat on this match. Valhalla Valkyries, they've picked up their pace.
Yeah, the Storm struggling now with this, especially mid-game style composition. So you know what? They're just going to pull the Fire Giant again. Now, San Soccer spots this out immediately. Gamma looping around, Aquarius nearby. This is surely going to be a fight now for the Valks, and they are taking it. Ratmilk has to take off and get out. Tegveer in some danger, knocked up and stunned out, but does manage to immune the damage. Gets out alive. Good wall comes out, but doesn't lock off Tegveer. Hapn, loop behind. There's the special delivery. Whoa, met by a Kraken. Signed, sealed, delivered, and Shipigami leaping over the wall to take this fight now for the Storm. But here comes Spirit of the Nine Winds, takes Tegveer low. There comes the Searing Pain, doesn't find a kill. Gamma so low, but still alive. Now still chasing forward are the Xibalba Storm. The Valhalla Valkyries are low, but even lower are the Storm. They will back away. Will the Valks pull a fire? They shall not. So a strange engagement, just a 1 kill for the Storm.
And the Storm just heat checking the map once more. Go for a play that works for them in Game 1. Doesn't work as well here in Game 2. San Soccer gets a little bit overzealous. Goes to the dash on a Globe. Globe immediately beats it out. San Soccer pays with his life. But at the end of the day, it's a relic graveyard for the Xibalba Storm. Not a single relic available to them. No ultimates up either. If the Valhalla Valkyries force a fight soon, they'll have a significant advantage over to themselves. Beads and Aegis maintained for Crimson means the dive potential to Storm real low. Valhalla Valkyries, on the other hand, certainly can start to leverage some of that global presence from San Soccer. Get into that back line, make contact with Tegveer or Globe. They'll probably just die immediately. So I'd like to see the Valkyries try and force a fight soon. And with Primal Fury on the map, it'd be a pretty good place to put that fight.
I'm surprised to see the Xibalba Storm just always seem to succeed when they just pull the Fire Giant. I'm fearful for my casual games, for anyone who's watching this. You don't just do that. It's not really something you should be ever just committing to, but of course the Xibalba Storm have decent security. Look at this! Like, I'm getting so mad at watching this happen, but the NASCC team seems to love doing this. So here comes the commitment from the Storm. What's the reaction like from the Valks? The Aquarius spots it out again, says, "Are you guys kidding me? Get out of this pit, please. Save this for 5 minutes down the line when we're all ready." But again, it seems to just not really be punished by the Valkyries. There's not a lot they can do about it.
I mean, the disengage of the Xibalba Storm is pretty decent, so just going in, checking the Fire Giant. If no one shows up, you grab a free Fire Giant. If someone does show up, you just leave. There needs to be a responsive punishment now from the Valhalla Valkyries, and if they can't catch their enemies, they can do something else on map. Primal Fury pulled and secured now by the Valkyries. The Chaos side further lining their coffers. Remove the opportunity for the Xibalba Storm to go for a similar play as they have it on the fire on the opposite side. And now the Valhalla Valkyries can put all their attention on the right, make sure that Fire Giant is just safe and cozy in his little pit there. The Xibalba Storm, I mean, this is significant golden experience advantage over to the Valkyries now. The Storm got to find somewhere to put their pressure on map. 1v1s, maybe dual lane presence could be a way in. Knowing that the Valkyries likely won't be playing around the duo because you've got about a half hour to hour of game data, realizing San Soccer is not interested at all in facilitating Wowy. Maybe you put some fight there.
Straight on the Globe, there's a Spirit of the Nine Winds, but doesn't connect by virtue of the beads coming out from Globe. Big cooldown off the map, though. which the Valkyries will be hoping to take advantage of later on. But significant here, I think, is a very large gold lead in the way of the Valhalla Valkyries, but only the one tower off the map, and it's the all-important one, that tier 1 tower in the mid lane as well. Now, finally matched out by Shipiigami before the Storm, but it's still a lot of gold on the map for the Valkyries to take. They have somewhat passively built this lead just by securing these objectives. There goes another Pyromancer the way of the Valkyries. 2 Roms now in the pocket of Sanfasaka, and that's a frightening thought, because if one of these Phoenixes ever gets exposed, Mercury, one of the great gods of split pushing.
He's pretty good at it. Ratmilk up to the air. It's got eyes for Crimson. Dunk off the mark, but wall does connect.
Oh, searing pain off the mark as well, and that'll have to be the retreat. Now, Ratmilk, no, Hammer left to teleport out. Gamma does not stop them from retreating, but does burn the Aegis. But here's Aquarius, does not connect with the Ren, but still wants to take the fight. Globe having to retreat because there's no eyes on Sanfasaka, who did have a good flank, but did not have the Sonic Boom ready to pull it. And now it just means that the Valhalla Valkyries feel like they have the space to go for this Fire Giant.
It's not even feels like they have got the space. They've got so much space control. Hapn going to go for the Hail Mary ultimate, but unfortunately for him, just a bit too early there. Aqua's got eyes on mid. Every other member of the Storm either shows himself on left or on the way back to base. Hapn steps up again. I mean, he's just going to give up his life for free here, attempting that steal. But worthwhile, I suppose. Low respawn timer, low odds play, but you're not even that significant on base defense without your ultimate, so I don't hate that call from Hapn. It's the Valhalla Valkyries now, with just about every single advantage you could ask for in a game of Smite. Gold, experience, Fire Giant on 5, numbers advantage, and the right side bird exposed with 2 runic bombs in play. Thought maybe we'd see a little bit more of a dive there. Aqua, not with his team though. Instead, playing on the left-hand side of the map, we'll slow down our pace a bit here. Xibalba Storm, if they're lucky, can catch a few members of the Valkyries straggling back to base.
Yeah, ErupTCrimson actually going to be the last remaining member on this right-hand side, but the Xibalba Storm not willing to commit in that much of a chase. But yeah, it looks like the Valkyries not willing to overstep the mark, don't want to take the 4v4 under Phoenix. Of course, somewhat gets equalized by that structure, and why would you take the risk? You know, you've got the lead that you wanted. They've been pretty significant trends towards just every fight going the way of the Valkyries right now. Only the 2 kills for the Xibalba Storm at this point, and both of them going on to Ratmilk. Both of them actually on to Sanfasaka as well, but Sanfasaka still having the more successful game. Now, full 5-man commit onto this right side tier 1 to just get some extra gold in the pocket of the Storm. And that's the type of thing they have to be doing, because the Valkyries aren't giving them a whole lot of windows.
No, the Storm just did not play around a lot of their strong points. You'd think Shipiigami on the Anhur would be chomping at the bit to get any sort of engagement going in the dual lane, but he's sitting at about 2,500 on the damage charts. You'd think Thor would love to get involved before some of that crit is stacked up for Sanfasaka. He's sitting at about 2,800 damage on the chart there. So Xibalba Storm take the path of least resistance, which is pacifism, but get punished for it as the Valhalla Valkyries were very willing to hit the Xibalba Storm. And if only one guy's hitting, that guy's probably going to win the fight. Oni Fury pulled out 50%, burning quickly. Nobody on the Storm even remotely nearby to defend that one. So enhanced minion wave is going to start working their way across the map, and the Valhalla Valkyries, who are actively winning each of their lanes pushes, will now passively win in map state advantage as well. Last tower standing, and Polynomicon's going to do some work.
Whoa! There's ErupTCrimson takes a chunk there. Just the one root from Hapn is enough to send off the fire for Globe, and finally, someone who is not the support of the Xibalba Storm takes the lead on their team's player damage charts. Hapn, of course, being the most active member, and now this tier 2 defense, pretty good from the Storm so far, but Aquarius is behind. There's a heal dropped back for Ratmilk. Tegveer looks to take this fight. Ratmilk goes up to the sky. Here comes the summon sticks, and dunking down is Ratmilk. Targets Wowy. Not quite connecting just yet. Tornado in a good place. Here comes a big Spirit of the Nine Winds. Doesn't connect just about. Now Ratmilk brawling it out with Aquarius. Has to hammer away. Just about survives, but Globe shall not. Sanfasaka now in the fight. Diving forward is Aquarius as well. This Poseidon chased far away. This Phoenix under duress. And just like that, the Xibalba Storm get batted away from their tower.
Mid Phoenix down, left Phoenix down, and the Valhalla Valkyries, so early in the game, won't be able to walk into the Titan room. Now with those respawns, 10 seconds on Hapn, 20 on Globe. So it's a reset. I hesitate to call it neutral, considering how much map state advantage does belong to the Valhalla Valkyries right now, but we'll call it that. Xibalba Storm given a chance to breathe and collect some farm. They got to figure out something. I mean, there just has to be some way for the Storm to get Shinigami involved. There has to be some way for Ratmilk to get into that back line. And then level 17 on the Thor, level 19 on the Anhur. Haven't upgraded their starters just yet. Still haven't upgraded their relics. I understand that's going to be a difficult situation, but the damage output that I'm seeing there, it's unacceptable if the Xibalba Storm want any sort of opportunities to fight back in. I mean, there is no reason Gamma should be out-damaging those two on this Ganesh pick. And the Valhalla Valkyries is clearly not respectful of the damage from Xibalba Storm. We've seen Sanford Soccer frontline just about every single engagement. Aquarius is struggling to keep up with his jungler. And he's the tank. You'd expect Aquarius to be furthest forward, but because there is no threat of return damage, Sanford Soccer simply just walks him down and says, the only guy who's hitting me is the guy I'm hitting. I win my 1v1 against him, and I've got lifesteal for the fight afterwards. So there's really no threat towards me. Xibalba Storm playing very, very scared now. And their hands are no longer on the levers of power. I mean, they haven't exactly got the proactive element to fight their way back in. At this point, the lead is so significant for the Valhalla Valkyries that the Storm are just reliant on mistakes. Maybe Sanford Soccer will ult into my fountain on accident. Maybe I'll be able to catch him with a stray Kraken at some place. But for now, it's just the Xibalba Storm biding their time and waiting. If the game goes another 20 minutes, gold stops mattering, things equalize. But because of the pace the Valhalla Valkyries have set, I mean, it has gotten very bad very quickly. And there's still room to grow. Every single member of the Valkyries is still holding on to their recipes.
And right now, the Valhalla Valkyries looking to cook up some action on the Xibalba Storm side of the map yet again. These Titans now marching down this right-hand lane, which, of course, the worst-case scenario for the Storm because that's the only Phoenix they have left. Now, the Valkyries have every advantage you can possibly speak of at this current time, and they're looking to throw their weight around. Now, at least if you're the Xibalba Storm, you've got this extra game in the pocket, did manage to win even faster than this in game number 1, but at this point, sort of going through the motions, trying to catch a single mistake from the Valkyries, but complete change up from the first game. The Valkyries are playing in a way that, I don't know, that there's just been no opportunities whatsoever.
Well, not in the last 10 minutes, maybe. First 14 minutes of the game, everybody's even, right? There's not a whole lot of lead established, but now it's about base defense. The Xibalba Storm surrounded on all sides. Seem to be struggling to figure out where they want to put that defense. Tegveer back to resustain a bit. Will create an opening now for the Valkyries to walk themselves in.
Yeah, here comes Sanford Soccer. Oh, does take a ton of damage, but ErupTCrimson cleans it up. A rampage now for the Kukulkan, and all Phoenix is down. Now the Chaos Titan wants to get in. Ratmilk doesn't connect with the Anvil of Dawn, and now has to try to retreat. Does get a stun onto Wowy, who just dashes right back in. ErupTCrimson takes down Globe as well. The Valhalla Valkyries peeling apart the Xibalba Storm. Now march into the Titan room. They have their own Titan brawling. They have a runic bomb going down on the Titan. They have everything they could possibly want and more, and that gives them this game number 2.
Valhalla Valkyries took it easy there in game number 1. Game 2, wake up, realizing that they still do want to go to Worlds. Absolutely dominate their opponents there. Sanford Soccer on the Mercury, one of his signature picks, looks really good. Gamma on the Ganesh, setting a damage precedent for the enemies there. The Storm could not keep up with the Ganesh's damage output. Tough stuff, man. Adaptations need to be made. I need to see Ratmilk on something he's a bit more comfortable on. And some days, the best Thor players will have bad days, right? You're just not going to find your dunks. It's a very high skill floor character. You need your execution to be on point. We just weren't seeing the abilities connecting enough. Need a little bit more presence from that jungler.
We have seen, a particularly one-sided end to game number 1, and then a particularly one-sided end to game number 2. These adaptations, though, that you've mentioned, though, Mifflin, it sort of has to be from both sides, right? They still have to keep into account how game 1 went. Maybe the Storm have to go back to that, but somehow the Valkyries need to channel that game number 2 energy in this third game.
Maybe. I mean, how the Valkyries had lost game 1 was macro game. They were playing a lot around that soul lane. They lost out on a lot of the neutral objectives. So if they show presence and respect towards that, maybe even camp out that duo lane, have Sanford Soccer show presence there. I think it's play on field that differentiates both of these games, right? I'm not going to look at compositions and say one team won cleanly over the other. It's just about playing your own game and playing it well.
Well, a best of 3 turned into a best of 1. Let's see who comes out on top right after this break.
should run away to a brighter day. Like a bag, cop a couple tickets, hopping on the plane. Hit a different country with each other, change your last name. Tell me, is you with it? Cause I'm with it, and you feel the same. Down, 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 down. Knew you were different from the start, love. How you learn, they never taught love. You keep it peaceful and equal, I'm used to wars, love, hard love. I'm used to trauma, used to drama. Got a list of bad exes, plus I got a baby mama. Still you keep it solid, put that on my mama and them. Way you build me up, you probably add an extra accommodation, destination, running to a flight. We ain't never coming back, I hope you didn't pack light. We should run away to a brighter day. Pack a bag, cop a couple tickets, hopping on the plane. Hit a different country with each other, change your last name. Tell me, is you with it? Cause I'm with it, and you feel the same. Down, 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 down. It's the shuffle that I want you all on me, loving all on me, touching all on me, f***ing all on me. Girl, be honest, 30,000 feet and we can leave the world behind us. Cause you keep it raw, I'ma hit it with no I'ma hit you with my soul, I'ma hit you with these goals. You should probably leave your phone, ain't no service where we go. But you can't be iffy, baby, tell me where you at. You can choose the destination, put your finger on the map. We should run away to a brighter day. Pack a bag, cop a couple tickets, hopping on the plane. Hit a different country with each other, change your last name. Tell me, is you with it? Cause I'm with it, and you feel the same. Down, 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 down.
You ready? I'm pulling up now. Girl, get suited up. I'ma take you out, we can ride around, just the two of us. You my twin flame, ain't no doubt about it, we be two in love. From me, your club, I ain't pulling out, I'ma shoot it up. Cause you the one, shawty, you the one. yeah. You the one that's working for it. You the one that curved them for me. You the one that's searching for me. You the one that's hurting for me. You the one that deserve it from me. You the one that's perfect for me, yeah. She a little freak, yeah. She only do it for me, yeah, yeah. What you don't know, girl, you know that I'm willing to teach, yeah, yeah. Reaching your peak, yeah, you know I'm the one with that.
Well, it is a tie set here, and while game one is made by a really excellent Fire Giant play into late game play, this game was just dominance from the Valkyries. I mean, the kill count says so, the gold lead says so, the timer that the game ends says so. Everything leads up to just the Valkyries playing some damn good Smite.
Yeah, that was what I kind of expected to see in game one, was Valks take a lot of fights, they win a lot of fights, they kill a Fire Giant, they kill a Titan, and then that's game. And that's what we saw there. And I think a little bit of it came down to this early portion where this Nike actually just gets off to a good start. Sam gets off to a really good start. Neither dies. Ra has to rotate over. Ra loses beads also. Like this combination of stuff that just really allows Crim to get off to this really nice lead because he's not forced to rotate to this fight. And they played through this Cuckoo very well. They basically just said, let's let him farm. Let's go to fights if he can be there, and then if he hits his stuff, we'll just win fights. And guess what? When you're playing with Crim in mid, he's very rarely missing stuff. He's gonna hit his abilities, and that's kind of what just happened.
I mean, you get to see this team, and a lot of Cuckoo, as you had mentioned, show up. Crim played this incredibly well, but a lot of setup from Aquarius, a lot of setup from Sam, and from Gamma, really enabling Crimson and Wowy to just have the time of their lives. I mean, in moments like that, like if you're a carry and you just get to sit behind a few other people and free fire, like that is maybe the dream in the game in terms of setup. So it was a really good spot to be in. You've got some good late game hyper carries, great burst on that team. It just feels like the stars aligned, and that stars were their drafts, right? It just comes in, those gods being able to do incredibly well. Sam under 10K, but again, it was more the facilitating that he created that allowed, the 17K as well as the almost 17K coming out from Aquarius. I mean, just a lot of good damage and a lot of good everything from the Valkyries.
Yeah, and I also think the Storm tried to do the same type of style that they did in the first game, where it was just, don't take a ton of fights. Yeah, we might lose some of this 5v5, but if we go late and if we can just sneak a Fire Giant, they have the same type of Fire Giant burn comp. They have this secure with Raw. They have the Poseidon's damage with that Shoguns. They have an ADC. So they have the same type of recipe. But fool the Falcons once. Yeah, maybe you get away with one Fire Giant sneak. They're going to be ready for it. They're not going to fall for it again, and they didn't have an opportunity to sneak that Fire Giant. The Valks are ready for it. Now going into this game 3, I think the Storm need to switch up their style. I don't think this objective burn, just walk to an objective, hopefully the Valks aren't there, let's just do that. I don't think that style is going to work again. I want to see them get a little bit more aggressive. I think we take Tegveer off this Poseidon, put him on something a little bit more aggressive, whether it is a Raijin or a Warrior or a Morgan, whatever it is. There's not been a ton of mage bans. It's just they, and by they I mean the Valks, they're opting for these Warriors in solo lane.
And that's the thing that's really been, again, that was really interesting, the game before that, right, where we had seen, well, I guess in that case it was the Kukulkan favored over things like the Poseidon. And so creating an interesting dynamic, bans that come through. The Wukong, again, another warrior, maybe taking precedent. The Thoth and the Yemoja, other side. Athena, Afro, Apwash. It leaves open things like the Kukulkan that the Storm grab up immediately. I wouldn't be surprised. Poseidon, Raijin still in the conversation. Morgan Le Fay still in that conversation. A lot of mages up on the table. But it's Ganesha and Thor that get locked in for the Valkyries up front.
Yeah, and the Valks taking away the Thor from Ratmilk. Ratmilk had it game 1 and game 2. Game 1, Ratmilk did a lot. Game 2, the Thor was a little irrelevant. So taking that away, I think it's more so Sam wants to play that than let's get it out of Ratmilk's hands. But Ratmilk just kind of picks the same type of god. He just picks Rat. He picks Rat, which is basically Thor 2.0.
It's, hey, this guy's got a thing that can close gap, he's got a stun available to him, and he's got an ult that dunks down on people. Yeah, it works enough. Enough similarities. And the Rat, I would almost say, in some cases, at least right now, like meta-wise, it feels like we're seeing him a little more often than the Thor anyway.
For sure.
So Maybe it's an upgrade. We'll have to find out how Ratmilk is going to play. Ishtar gets locked in. Anhur, Poseidon banned by the Valkyries. Nike, Tiamat banned by the Storm. And Merlin, of all things, get locked in. And no, Beniku's not in this game. It is just something that we've been seeing, again, sparingly as time has gone on. But Merlin's still somewhat prevalent, especially in the burn conversation.
Yeah, I think Merlin's always going to be at least fine at an SPL level. I think even after eating a ton of nerfs, his kit still does what it's always done. It's just slightly worse at doing all things. But I still think he's a very strong character. But I want to talk about the Tsukuyomi. We have a Tsukuyomi lock-in, which is, we've seen it, I think, a couple times now over the past couple weeks where it's just kind of came in, it's played okay, nothing really stuck out a ton about it. But there should be a Tsukuyomi solo. Unless it's Rat solo.
I was going to say, which do you prefer, Suku versus Rat and solo? I feel like we've seen Rat solo from, like, variety, but it really is, I can only think of European players. Like, even last week, it was a European player that did it. What does Suku bring in solo that Rat maybe can't? Or, I guess, maybe what does Rat bring to the jungle that you'd rather see?
I think I just like it. I'm not a big Suku fan right now, but I think I prefer him in solo because I think Rat's just such a good jungler right now that I want to keep Rat making plays.
Well, they've got a lot of playmakers on the team and on the squad locked in. We'll have to see, can they do it? The Storm upset the Valkyries. Will the Valkyries seal the deal right here? Only way to find out is to go down to the casters.
That's right, thanks, Gorn. It is this final game for this winner's bracket side. We'll see who will be advancing on to Group C. And it's interesting again, Mifflin. Somehow, we've completely managed to avoid the Mage versus Mage solo lane. We're now into Tsukuyomi versus Tyr. At least we're predicting that. I'm assuming Tegveer did play this in the set yesterday that Xibalba Storm played. And yeah, will be this Tsuku in solo. And, I mean, what's your take on it? What do you think this is going to do?
Well, my take is that North American players really, really care about fun above all else, right? they look at the patch notes and they say, man, Mage solos are still good. Don't care. Don't care. Not interested. Not what I've been playing for the last 10 years. Not what I want to play tomorrow. And so they're going to do their thing. Otherwise, I'm seeing on one side a lot more damage. On the other, a lot more disruption. Disruption is Aquarius. Damage is Tegveer. As Tegveer does exactly that. Knocks down Aqua for first blood.
Wow.
Gotta put some respect on that Tsukuyomi throughout the early game. I mean, the axe maybe caught him a bit off guard. Otherwise, couldn't exactly tell you what catches Aqua off guard there, but he should be fine. Here's the thing about Tyr solo. It's one of the few solo laners I actually have a pretty decent amount of experience on because I'm not going to be playing those laning roles. It actually becomes unkillable at like level 6. Level 6, you're going to finish up your Breastplate of Valor, whatever you decide to pick up in first slot. You're going to have 3 points in Power Cleave, and all of a sudden your healing is just through the roof. So even with Aqua falling down this early, it shouldn't have too much of a knock-on effect for the rest of this game, so long as he doesn't get knocked down again.
Yeah, Belly even missed a minion, of course, because able to pick up that teleport relic, and you know, it's not the worst thing in the world, like you'd mentioned, but the thing that will be costing Aquarius here is actually the lack of blue buff, I think. Tyr, at this stage of the game, might struggle a little bit with that mana usage. Does have the Bluestone Pendant to help with that somewhat, but Sanfasaka sitting in lane. Now, I do remember Barracuda talking about hating against playing in Sanfasaka, because he'll just do this. He'll just sit in your jungle and wait for you to step too far up, and then look to make a play on you.
Yeah, Sanfasaka, very much so a classical jungler in every sense of the word. Willing to just set up his little camp in the jungle and wait it out. Set up a blind, if you would. Instead, now it's Ratmilk getting involved, and Aqua, I mean, he got a little over-aggressive.
Yeah, used one Fearless, does not have the second Fearless available to them, and now takes that second spill that you'd mentioned. Now, it is to Ratmilk and not their direct opponent, but you know, a jungler might as well be a direct opponent for a solo lane.
Yeah, things are going to start looking real rough here. Probably loses out on at least 3 or 4 minions to that tower. Once he does get there, Sanfasaka going to take that farm. Sanfasaka actually going to take all the farm. Okay, not going to save any minions for Aqua. Aqua's suffering, man. Okay, that's fine. Aqua's game should be chalked from here. I mean, the 1v1 matchup just should not turn back around as Globe goes for a bit of an invade there. It does steal away the green buff, but costs him his ultimate.
Yeah, it does use the ult for it, and will take a ton of damage in response. But ErupTCrimson, of course, knows full well that Kukulkan is never going down to the damage that Merlin has to output at this point. And again, segues us quite nicely over to this Merlin pickup. Now, not the style of mage we have been seeing a lot of. Maybe more similar to this Baba Yaga that's been there a bit, where you can just output consistent damage. But how do you think Merlin does in this current phase?
I think he's got really, I mean, everything he did good previously, he still is very good at, right? He's got one of the best objective burn kits in the game, so any opportunity to go towards Gold Fury, Pyromancer, Fire Giant, going to be a little bit easier so long as ErupTCrimson is there. For my money, still the best mage on base defense as well. His damage output is just incredibly hard to work through. A lot of space control from Merlin because of all the persistent damage on field abilities he has in every single one of his stances. So I'm a big Merlin fan. The only thing that has hurt Merlin in my mind is when itemization doesn't exactly favor him. And the best build path for Merlin is when proc effect mage items are good. We're not exactly in that meta right now, so he's lacking a bit in what he could be doing, but still certainly A tier. You know, solidly A tier.
Solid god, and sometimes that is all you're looking for. And you got a solid god on a solid player like ErupTCrimson. Did see Crimson actually bring this pick out a few times in the SCC Phase 2 as well, and it still wasn't a particularly good meta for the Merlin, but you know, not dropping a match to the Xibalba Storm, not dropping a match at all, the Valhalla Valkyries in Phase 2, must have been doing something right, and look to bring that back again. But Ratmilk and Tegveer putting the pain onto Aquarius, now looking to reaggress onto this blue buff. Is there anything that Sanford Soccer can do to really stem this flow?
Well, you got a few options. You can either play counter gank to Ratmilk and hover on the right-hand side, or you can generate pressure somewhere else on the map and force Ratmilk to respond. Seems Sam's gone for the second option. Third option, excuse me. Thought maybe he was going to put some damage to GIobe there. Third option is nothing, and then just hover in the jungle. And he is nailing that one right now. Should be able to grab that right side camp, so decent in that regard. I'd like to see Sam start making some rotations over towards the duo lane. Thor wall, just really strong into both Hapn and Shippigami, who neither of which have got a good option to get past it. Could be a good place for him to put some of his own aggression. Instead, though, starts to move himself a little bit closer to mid. You could even have Thor start making some of those rotations actively to Tsukuyomi, get ahead of Ratmilk, try and play aggressively there, but Aquarius doesn't exactly have a lot of damage just yet. His build's been hyper delayed, just now finishing up that Breastplate of Valor. So Sanford Soccer probably going to wait until he's got Hydras before he goes for that 1v1. And Tegveer going for a more bruiser style of build has got just enough survivability and CC immunity and kit that I think it wouldn't exactly be worth Sam's time to put his attention there proactively.
Yeah, somewhat lack of aggression coming out from these Thor picks at the moment. And Sanford Soccer, afflicted by it as well, does throw out the hammer onto Ratmilk just to defend this green buff on the Valk side. And not a whole lot of action still on the rest of the map. It's all being focused onto Aquarius, which, like you mentioned, now has hit that level 6-7 mark, has the Breastplate of Valor finished up. Shouldn't be seeing too much more action over there. So now, attention has to turn to what will be coming next. Who would Ratmilk like to get aggressive on? Because even though, you know, we've seen good success on that right side, the rest of the map doesn't seem to be a particularly good option.
Well, Crimson's been soloing out mid-camps pretty consistently, so if Ratmilk can find him, that's always a great option. Merlin's got good damage output, but Ratmilk can stop channeled abilities and has good chase down potential with Dart, so should be able to secure a kill onto him, given the opportunity. Otherwise, rotations towards duo lane. Both junglers have shown a propensity to just play on that center and right-hand side of the map so far this set, but I'm looking at both of these duo lanes, and I'm thinking, well, Rat's got a pretty decent matchup, could catch Ishtar relatively easily if Gamma's rotating out. Could catch him. Thor can do the exact same thing to Rama and Terra, but so far, nobody really willing to make that rotation. Maybe it's all those wards on the left-hand side kind of preventing that opportunity, but both of them, Sanford Soccer and Ratmilk, that is, having that global presence, doesn't exactly matter if you can see them coming if they just get there too quickly.
Yeah, so you can always respond, but you can't always react. Now, maybe some aggression from Ratmilk. Mjolnir's attunement is down, but there comes the stun. Dart actually does come out from Ratmilk, looks to try to fire off. There's the Piercing Moonlight as well, and will still deal the damage despite Sanford Soccer taking to the air. So a third kill for the Xibalba Storm. Valhalla Valkyries need to be careful this doesn't get away from them like Game 1 did.
Yeah, pace starting to establish now for Xibalba Storm. Similarly, though, to Game 1, a lot of that pace established on the right-hand side of the map, so if the Valhalla Valkyries just keep presence on left, should be able to prevent that Gold Fury from going down. Globe in some trouble.
Oh, good damage. Oh, doesn't quite get soloed out yet. Does big damage in response to ErupTCrimson, but that is just a trade of blows. It's almost like a solo lane battle there, as both mages just go in on each other, but nothing quite happening there. But, I mean, it's signs that, like you'd mentioned, the NA teams just like to have some fun. Both midliners realize that the jungler ults are down. They're just going to go scrap.
And nearly able to turn that fight around. If Zephyr connects, Globe has the kill. If Crimson's able to stick around a little bit longer, his abilities are about a half-second, a second coming up as well. So, very thin margins for both of those mid laners. And fortunately for both, make it out alive. Xibalba Storm going to lose out slightly on that, in that the Valhalla Valkyries mid laner Crimson does knock down a few more minions, sends them into the tower. So, all that scrapping, ultimates traded, just to get 2 extra minions worth of gold over to ErupTCrimson.
Well, Shichigami is got a small lead over Wowy, but Gamma, small lead over Hapn. And that's somewhat where we would expect to see that go. Gold Fury on the left-hand side, left completely untouched, as you've mentioned earlier. Both junglers having to favor this right-hand side of the map, but it's not a particularly big lead that the Storm have established here. They are now feeling confident to pull this objective. No Spirit of the Nine Winds available to ErupTCrimson because it's on the side of Globe, but in goes SMITE. There comes the big Kukulkan ultimate, and that will be enough to secure it, and that's that. The Valhalla Valkyries opt to disengage. Xibalba Storm take a free objective.
Storm doing a good job of playing with the pace while they've got it, playing with their momentum. Knock down the first neutral objective on the map. Now can just essentially rest on their laurels. Don't exactly need to get over-aggressive. I'd like to see the Storm prepared on next rotation of neutral objectives to continue that pace, though. Until then, I don't expect to see them get overly aggressive on map. Power Spike hit for Ratmilk has finished up that Hydra's Lament. Let's go for it before the Jotuns. Shichigami dashes forward. This might just be a free kill.
Wowy, low health. Ratmilk goes for it. There's the snipes as well to assist Ratmilk, taking another kill. 4 kills to 0 now in favor of the Xibalba Storm. And, well, not to get too far ahead of things, because we do still have a significant amount of time in this game, it appears, but ErupTCrimson at least has good base defense. And I mean, if it keeps trending this way, might have to rely on it. There's really not anything just yet going in favor of the Valkyries, and when we get to this first Fire Giant engagement, be it that in 10 minutes, or if the Storm are continuing their trends in about 2 minutes, it still will favor the Storm, because they are the ones with the secure.
Should do. The Storm's also got pretty decent ability to burn those objectives as well. I wonder, though, even with it being 4-0, experience being favored to the Storm, it's not exactly the most experience. It's generally just the duo lane, about a level and a half for Shichigami at points 2 levels, while he's just now ticking over to level 10. SMITE, though, has maintained parity. For the most part, we're seeing parity in mid. Even Crimson actually about a half level up on Globe right now. Gamma actually ahead of his direct lane opponent, too. So, experience not being that largely in favor of the Storm, and Gold, for the most part, largely even as well, only approaching that 2,000 point. I'd argue the Storm haven't exactly put themselves solidly in the driver's seat. One fight goes south for Storm, and all of a sudden the Valkyries are right back in it.
Well, here comes this Beacon Brawl, as the Valkyries do look to contest. It's a full-on 3-on-3 mid-jungle support. We've seen that back in the old days a little bit, coming back to fruition here. Now, Wowy makes the rotation over faster than their opposing laner Shichigami. Gamma still being an annoyance, but has been deterred. That will be the Xibalba Storm picking up this first beacon, and everything's just trending their way. A small lead here, a small win there, but it's not quite a big lead yet, and at any point, if the Valhalla Valkyries take a good fight, they could turn this game on its head.
Yeah, it's been a death of 1,000 cuts so far for Xibalba Storm. Been able to set themselves up in a pretty decent position.
Never mind.
Maybe we'd see Gamma trying to at least lock down Hapn there with SMITE so close by. Maybe that low mana keeping SMITE from getting involved. Neither side exactly has anywhere to put their aggression for the next few minutes, so we're just waiting on power spikes. seems to be some delineation in the builds here. GIobe and ErupTCrimson finally starting to fork away from each other. Talon Tree for Crimson, whereas GIobe likely looking for a Mirrodin in 3rd slot. Ratmilk as well has decided to diverge from Sam for Soccer. Sam, of course, going for that full damage build, whereas Ratmilk a little bit more towards that bruiser style. Going to pick up a hammer in his 3rd slot. Otherwise, top to bottom, Xibalba Storm starting to hit some pretty significant power spikes. Breastplate of Determination for Tegveer, so he's much tankier than you might initially believe. Hapn has gone for a slightly different style of build, tier 2 items for him, but those are very good tier 2s, so a little bit tankier than you might expect there as well.
Yeah, Hapn just kind of window shopping, maybe opting to commit one way or the other later. Do wonder if that will be a Spirit Robe, maybe a Magi's Cowl coming out, so something along those lines coming out from Hapn, but stopped in their aggression by this Ganesh. And for Soccer, drops the Tectonic Rift and will retreat. And that's just been the call for a lot of these Valkyries fights. It's given space for this Primal Fury to be started. Now, the Xibalba Storm might commit to this. They will not just yet. Up to the sky goes half the team over
Good
here.
shots.
Firing shots from Shippigami. Ratmilk goes in, but does get silenced out as the Blades of Retribution with a stun. That'll be a Purification beats Ratmilk, but now Sam dunks down. Sam takes a ton of damage in response. Hapn shows up to lock them down, and Shippigami shall put them down now. Tegveer and Aquarius both on the rotation, but already one kill in favor of the Storm. They again go to this Gold Fury.
Man, my heart goes out to Sam for Soccer there. Waits for the beads to go down, but gets slammed by DR regardless. And so Ratmilk makes himself scarce, and it's immediate turnaround onto Sam for Soccer, who loses his life, and the Valkyries lose the neutral objective as the Storm knocked that one down too. And now we're starting to reach that critical point in the game. I always say 5,000 gold is when the red alert starts to go off, so that 3,500 mark that we're currently hovering at, having removed the Gold Fury Pyromancer, would put us right at that 5,000 doorway. The Valhalla Valkyries going to want to stop this bleeding real soon. But it was an expensive engagement for the Valhalla Valkyries. They burned through 2 sets of beads, Ratmilk and Shippigami losing out on those relics, but lose out on both of Sam for Soccer's relics. Still waiting on that Aegis to come back up from Wowy. No Blink available for Aqua. If the Storm decide, they've been making the decision to just jump onto neutral objectives at every given opportunity, at every given second of each one of these games so far this set. Thinking this could be another opportunity for them around the Pyromancer happen. First on the scene. Will not be pulling it out. Generally, I like to keep my eyes on these ADCs, whether or not they decide to make the rotation. Shippigami has proven to me that he generally doesn't like to rotate out a lane to that level 20, 18, 19 mark, somewhere in there. So, we'll keep our eyes. He heads back to base. Which way is he headed? Looking like he's moving towards right. Pyromancer would be a great call for the Storm.
Looks like the Valkyries have already made the call. There's the burn coming out from the Merlin, but the
Yikes.
Storm somehow snatched that one away. And that means that up to the sky goes Ratmilk. Aquarius on the loop around behind. Valhalla Valkyries finally try to make something happen.
Classic.
It doesn't work for them. Now, Rat goes up just to stall. Fire Giant gets pulled, but Aquarius spots this one out. The Valkyries take Sam up to the sky. Does GIobe know about it? No, they do not. Gets dunked down on top of. Has to try to retreat, but is now taking some damage from the fire. And there will be Aquarius picking up the first kill for the Valks. Now Tegveer trying to fight back with this piercing moonlight. Sam for Soccer will fall down. Double stun coming out from Tegveer. Now Ratmilk, can they find an angle in? Gets the dart silenced out from Gamma somehow midway through. But a fantastic wall from Hapn will lock Gamma in place. Ratmilk
Good stun.
shotguns them down. Aquarius gets a good fearless, but the stun is better. Locked in by the Dharmic Pillars. Does not matter. Ratmilk takes the double anyway, but ErupTCrimson gets the return kill. 2 for 3, a brawl in the pit.
Valhalla Valkyries just happy to see some of those kills go in there. The Storm overzealous once more. They've gone for it 3 games in a row. The 16-minute Fire Giant pull. The Valhalla Valkyries completely aware of that strategy now. Able to rotate through and counter it out. Good ultimate from Sam for Soccer. Isolates GIobe. Pulls through both of his relics. Sam for Soccer, of course, not able to do a whole lot after that. But fortunately, Aquarius gets into that back line. Finds the first of the Valkyries. And from there, it's all Xibalba Storm all the way through until one return kill from Crimson to finish off Ratmilk. Storm, though, at the end of the day, do continue to win out on that exchange. But the gold lead has been cut slightly. Those bounties on the Xibalba Storm just a little bit higher than the Valkyries. And so what was 3,500 previously is now only 3,000 some odd gold. Experience cut pretty significantly as well. But I don't want to see that slow down the pace here from the Storm. Just because one fight doesn't go absolutely perfect, you still got to be willing to take those exchanges. Beads Aegis off of Wowy means that he'd be a really good target. The only thing that I could see slowing them down is that GIobe also had to use his Beads and Aegis, so about a minute till those relics are back up. An easy target for Sam4Soccer.
Yep, we do see a lot of that gold being returned onto ErupTCrimson, though, on this Merlin. Now, like you mentioned, Merlin is still good at the things that Merlin does, but now Ratmilk, with that bounty hanging over their head now released, might mean that you should encourage this Ratatoskr to continue to get aggressive. And ErupTCrimson does manage to turn all of that gold into a full Typhon's Fang, considered by many to be one of the best items just in the game at the moment. And yeah, it's so good, but can Merlin really make use of it? You would have much preferred to see one of the more standard meta picks have all of this gold, but speaking of gold, Xibalba Storm look to pull yet another objective now. Tegveer is here, as is GIobe, now with that secure. Don't want to burn it too fast. ErupTCrimson firing out some shots over the wall. Both teams looking for a chance. This is a Gold Fury dance, but it's almost a pseudo FG fight, because if this goes one way, we all know where the attention will be turning.
Gamma, Wowy isolated on left. The Valhalla Valkyries have scattered, and Wowy alone will die alone.
Dies alone, straight up to Ratmilk, who re-engages with that killing spree. Now, Tegveer chases away the direct lane opponent and creating the space for this Gold Fury to be pulled. Now, GIobe and Hapn can take this one down together. Shipigami on the way to provide a little bit of extra damage. I'd like to see GIobe hold on to that ultimate, though. It certainly has its uses elsewhere, and yeah, Kukulkan shall do so. Bit of a scrap in the mid lane, though. Aquarius takes some damage. Tegveer also dishing it out. But now the Valhalla Valkyries have to retreat. There's still a man down.
They are. Wowy does get his relics back up post-mortem, so should he rotate back in towards an engagement, might be a little bit more effective. But 3 levels down just does not have the same damage output as the Storm's ADC, Shippigami, sitting comfortably in his build, Executioner, Kin size, and likely dominance in that next slot, nearly an entire item up. This Pyromancer would go a long way for the Valkyries. Last time stolen away, and second time stolen again. The Storm just taking every single bit of farm on the map. The Valkyries cannot catch a break here. Already one Runic Bomb in play for the Storm, in pocket. Another one on map. Should go the way of Hapn. Just need to get rid of one of those wards first. I'm thinking the Storm in such a good position now. They could just regroup, force the fight around fire, get some of that vision out, spot the Valkyries, get some deep vision on the Valkyrie side of the map so that Sam4Soccer isn't given a free ultimate like we'd seen around that last Fire Giant pool onto GIobe. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking the Storm are really starting to push their odds significantly. I give them really good odds in a jungle team fight as well. GIobe has been doing a lot of damage in these fights.
This Kukulkan particularly slippery, like you said, both relics available, and it's only really Sam4Soccer who's been making any inroads in actually getting on top of the backline. Now, Aquarius is this sort of sleeping giant here. We haven't managed to see this tier have its impact just yet. Of course, fell down 3 times already, has managed to pick up a kill in of these skirmishes, but if we can see some more great blink engages. We actually saw a good feelers into the Pyromancer wall from Aquarius in the previous fight around that Fire Giant. So, again, more consistent output from Aquarius getting involved on this tier, I think is exactly what the Valhalla Valkyries need. Because if the game keeps going at this pace, it's just going to be a slow bleed out. But the Valkyries at least have some tools to fight back into this.
They do. Aqua, very slippery, of course, thanks to Tier's passive, but Aqua is also very squishy if Shinigami's hitting him, who's just now finished up that dominance. So it's Xe Kin size dominance. That is the quintessential tank shred build there. And Aqua not exactly the tankiest man on the map right now, considering how poor of an early game he's had. Xibalba Storm grouped up significantly on the right-hand side of the map. ADCs don't lie. Fire Giant pulled. Can the Valkyries get there in time?
They're going to commit to the burn for this one so far. Half HP on the objective. Ratmilk up to the sky. Runic Bomb used, and there will be the Xibalba Storm securing the objective. No contention for the Valhalla Valkyries. Nothing they could do about it. 1,700 damage. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. That will be a Fire Giant around the belts of all 5 of the Storm.
All the while, Wowy split pushing on left, and Sam4Soccer doing the same in mid. Should be able to knock down one of those tier 2 towers. Ratmilk will stop Wowy, but Sam4Soccer goes unchecked. All the while, the rest of the Storm grouped up as 4 with Fire Giant, knocking on the door on the right-hand side. Full reset there from the Valhalla Valkyries, so Storm will have to show some respect. We talked about it earlier. You'd called for it. ErupTCrimson on this Merlin, one of the best at base defense in the game. Just a really good pick at controlling those space around the enclosed Phoenixes in the Titan room. Tier 2 towers, really good at slowing down the push. We'll see whether or not the Valkyries are capable of leveraging that, as the Storm have already collected the wave and maintained their grouping. This Tier 1 tower will go quick.
Will go quick, but the Valhalla Valkyries actually want to defend it. Aquarius blinks forward, goes in even further with that Lawbringer, dunking down onto Globe. Globe's in a ton of trouble and will get beaten down. As Shinigami takes to the sky, immediately comes back down to the ground. This is a 4v5 in the mid lane. Tegveer pretty much zoned out of this fight just by Gamma. And that has created some decent space, and all of a sudden the Xibalba Storm handled the momentum, and it's been sort of knocked away for a moment.
Yeah, Globe a bit slow on the uptake on disengage there. Gets isolated by those blink forwards from the Valhalla Valkyries. Go to ultimate from Aqua as well to lay down some of that CC. And the Storm now, without their mid laner for 20 seconds, lose a lot of the wind in their sails. I don't think that Globe is so significant on siege potential that the Valkyries have completely stopped the Xibalba Storm from knocking down structures, but they've certainly slowed them down. Titans will meet on the right-hand side. Valhalla Valkyries 5 strong. Still waiting on Globe's respawn. Storm's got to be careful here.
The Valhalla Valkyries suddenly remembered, we're the #1 seed, we should be going in. Aquarius has the ultimate yet again, but not able to connect onto Hapn by virtue of that Terra passive. So all of a sudden, the Valhalla Valkyries remember, we are the Valhalla Valkyries, but we are down quite a lot of gold. So we should again retreat, reset, and look to see what the Xibalba Storm do. Now, you see all the pings come across the map. They want the Pyro, the Tier 1s in mid, and the Tier 2 on left as well. A sweep of the towers looks to be the call for the Storm.
Yeah, and you don't even have to get all the towers. You can maybe go for the Tier 2, at least heat check it, see whether or not the Valkyries are ready to defend, and they aren't. So, Tier 2 should go down, fall back, grab all the farm on the left-hand side of the map, grab a few buffs maybe. Fall back to that Primal Fury. It's so much gold to collect. A lot of gold in pocket right now.
Gamma needs to be careful. Almost walked into a bit of a trap there, but luckily for them, did not get spotted. Now, Xibalba Storm going to take their time, take the Primal Fury as well, like I mentioned. All of the farm on the map, everything that they want is in their hands, and I don't know, how did we get here as the Valkyries? It's been a slow bleed, but I was expecting so much more after game number 2.
Yeah, the Valkyries just weren't quite able to fight themselves back in. Looks to me to be a bit of a jungle diff as well. Ratmilk very involved on that rat, affecting 8 out of 9 kills. 7 out of 9 from Tegveer, who had gotten a really good start in that soul lane. Bleed started the soul lane, of course. First death for Aquarius and on that second wave. And since then, it's not gotten much better. Things have slowed down, but that's just because he's tanky. Hasn't quite been able to make his stamp in some of these team fights. Wowy as well, pretty low on that damage chart. Has elected to go for a crit, though. Demon Blade in that 5th slot. Should be able to start dealing some pretty significant damage to the squishier targets. That's one of the reasons Ishtar is just so good with crit. Not only is it the shotgun blast auto attack for objective burn, but it's those snipe auto attacks just connecting one stray shot on the Globe or connecting a few stray shots into Shinigami. Get a lucky crit, and all of a sudden that poke is real significant, pretty difficult to deal with. So we'll see how well the Valkyries are able to play around that one. It's a weird middle ground where the Valkyries have gotten a composition that is really good on initiation, but they're so far behind they don't want to initiate the fight. And the Storm, 11,000 gold up, they want to go for a more long-range poke war style of engagement. Have Globe throughout the Zephyr. Shinigami can drop someone down to 50% HP before the fight even starts with his ultimate. Even Ratmilk to a certain extent, when Ratatoskr has this acorn, it is pretty decent on poke. But because they're so far ahead, there is no poke war to be had. And anytime a fight starts, it starts in earnest. And so it's that all-in initiation from the Storm that we're looking for. Fire Giant on the mend. 27.5 minutes in. Probably won't have the opportunity to be enhanced here. And no response from the Valhalla Valkyries means that this is going to be a free one over to the Storm. What can the Valkyries do in the meantime, in the interim? Grab some oracles, pressure a Tier 2 tower, but not exactly getting a whole lot done.
Yeah, there's the fire already down, and now the task is there for the Xibalba Storm. It's the easiest thing to say to do in SMITE Myth. It is, you have a huge lead, just go and win the game. And yet, somehow, when faced in this situation, a lot of teams will falter. You might get someone just get a little bit over-aggressive, just get a little bit over-eager. And all of a sudden, like you'd mentioned, the Valhalla Valkyries have the composition that can turn around this sort of defense. But Xibalba Storm, play it carefully, split the mid, push up right as well, looking to pick this one apart.
Yeah, got to play this one just a little bit slower. Wait for some of that pressure to come from Wave. Tegveer taking a lot of damage early on, but will resustain quickly and returns it just as well to Aqua. Right side Phoenix starting to burn as well, 50% there. The Valkyries not exactly winning out on either of these exchanges.
Apes. Interesting from Shippigami, just trying to get ErupTCrimson softened up a little bit. There come the Dharmic Pillars and a good Blades of Retribution as well. Ratmilk up on the tree in the backline. Sanfasaka up in the sky. Hapn will drop the Runic Bomb, but no minions. It's not enough damage, but the damage all goes on to Sanfasaka. Now the disadvantage for the Valhalla Valkyries. Gamma in big trouble. Tegveer goes in. Globe cuts a ton of damage. Aquarius finds a good Fearless, but on the wrong targets. Only 2 members still standing for the Valhalla Valkyries, but it's the damage dealers. It's the ones who can get that lucky moment, that big shot. ErupTCrimson not in the right stance for it. Tegveer behind, puts the hurt onto the Merlin, and Ratmilk finishes them off. This mid lane Phoenix down. Wowy all alone. The Xibalba Storm looking to make a statement against the top seed. They march on into the Titan room. They try to take down Wowy, who could only retreat, and watch as the Titan goes down. Valhalla Valkyries fall to the losers bracket. Xibalba Storm making their way to Group C.
What an amazing upset there from the Storm, man. I don't think anybody's expecting that going into this one. The Storm clearly come in. They play with confidence when they have the lead. They play through it incredibly well, rolling through those objectives on respawn. And the Valhalla Valkyries were never really given an opportunity to fight back in. It felt like the first stumble in each of these games. If that first step didn't go well for the Valkyries, they just weren't used to it. They spent so much time this year just dominating the SCC that they never got any practice playing from behind, and clearly need some of that practice.
Well, everyone at home, rip up the betting slips because Xibalba Storm have just flipped the script. I don't have to break it down, though. Let's send it over to Gore and Inbound to do just that.
That's right now. Xibalba Storm, not only an upset, but an upset over the top seed. And Inbound, I dare say that everything that the Valkyries threw at them in Game 2, they returned in kind here in Game 3.
Yeah, I mean, also, Tegveer steps away from the Poseidon, locks in a Tsukuyomi, a physical god, and he dominates. Like, he soloed Aqua level 2. Then I don't even know what I'm babbling right now because I was just baffled at how well Tegveer played on this Tsukuyomi, and then how good him... I would say how well him and the Rat were able to die. I think him and Ratmilk really kind of were able to provide a lot of this damage and a lot of this lead, kind of just putting this tier behind and then just really able to make a big impact. And once he got ahead, him and Ratmilk got this nice little lead. They rotated over and they tried to push that lead elsewhere. And just overall, a really great Game 3 by the Storm team.
And realistically, and much like you said, they get ahead, and the casters have kind of alluded to it. They really leaned into that lead. I mean, they're picking fights that you only pick because you have a lead. You're doing incredibly well because, guess what, you have a lead. And there are a few moments where the Valkyries get to shine and maybe, answer back, but not a whole lot of them. And it feels difficult to highlight some of the, I guess, the biggest plays, because there were so many. But it really does feel like it was 2 assassins, open the door, everybody else does incredibly well because of it.
And Globe on this Cuckoo, in some of those fights, as you just saw in the clips, he was able to kind of get off a lot of damage, even though he was getting pressured out a lot.
Yeah.
Sam for Soccer and Aqua were putting a lot of pressure onto him, but he had good positioning, good peel from Hapn. I think Hapn had a really good game on this Terra, and I think it just makes it a lot easier when, if your duo is able to just do just about nothing the entire game and just farm for that late game because your solo and your jungle are able to just do so much.
Yeah.
That is the recipe for success. If you're playing these warriors, these assassins, that is exactly what you want you to do. And then when you get to those late game fights, those 5v5s, if you are far enough ahead, it does not matter what your comp really is. Even though this double assassin comp, if it falls behind, is going to be a lot worse. It does not matter because of how far ahead you got.
And gloriously, First off, when both of your duo lane is undying, right, as you mentioned, because they just got to hang out and farm. But then you get a Rom that gets to come into the fight way later, as you had mentioned, with a full build. And he just kind of gets to shoot Hail Mary shots from the sidelines while everybody else is in the middle of the fray. Yeah, he's going to get up, maybe not the highest damage number, but 8 assists, right? You're suddenly, hey, that guy's half health, that guy's half health, that guy's half health. Have fun, guys. And then you just let him go through.
And then you just have this great dive comboed with the Rama. Like, if you wanted gods to chase down somebody who's Rama sniping, like Rat's up there, Tsukuyomi's up there. I mean, Kuku even has that potential of hitting somebody in the back line. I mean, overall, really good comp drafted by the Storm team. But, I mean, you can draft a good comp, but you still have to play it very well, and they played it very well.
And not only they play it very well, they become the first team now that is qualified to that Group C. It's not the end of the road for the Valkyries losing here, but for the Storm, it's maybe the beginning of a really glamorous road if they can continue on this kind of path. Again, coming in and being as good of a set as that one was makes me excited to see what they have to offer. You can see them up in the top right, says advances to Group C, so we'll be waiting to see them. Essentially, it's a one-up, right? You win twice now. You're going to go into another double elim group, which is going to allow you to try and win twice again. If you do that, well, then you get to go straight to the World's qualifiers on January 4th. If you are the Valkyries right now, or the Sages, then you are going to be trying your best. Whoever wins that one is going to go to Group C alongside the Storm. Whoever loses that one, they're out. They're done. And their world's dream and the road to Worlds for them ends. But they're not the only two teams that we're looking at. It's also going to be grabbing 2 from the other group over here, Group B. And we're going to crack into them just a little bit. The Scorpions, who we saw earlier beat Oblivion, are going to be waiting for the loser of this one. But the winner between the Weavers and the Wardens will be joining the Storm and 2 others, TBD, in Group C to try and figure out, by the time Sunday ends, who's going to be going to the qualifiers. And I know you said earlier that you were pretty excited for this Weavers-Wardens matchup.
Yeah, this is... The Weavers have layers. They have a player that has been to the SPL. He's played very well. And then the Wardens on the opposite side have a player that I think has all the potential in the world in Nog. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how those two are going to kind of play against each other. And then how the rest of the teams kind of fill out, I also think is really interesting. So I think this is just going to be a very good matchup.
Yeah, I'm just a quick glance at it. And of course, we're going to jump into it and break it down a lot more when the set begins. But there's a lot of names in this one that are going to compete for it. So this one's going to be just as exciting as the last one. Again, so we just saw, 6 versus 1, now going 5 versus 2. We've seen that the Weavers can bleed. The question right now is if the Wardens can cause it. We'll have to find all that out right after this quick break.
Trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, 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 for the record. Been a little too nice to y'all. Now I gotta up price for y'all. Snake eyes on dice for y'all. Shoulders on ice for y'all.